to St. John. So this I feel a spirit is shaking up the ground. The people can get at ease, only broken promises. The government are also on the knees. St. George is so to stay on freeze and get to us by degrees. And the people really want release. That's why we have feeling. He is the answer to we prayer. A man with experience, societal intelligence. Our farmers need a boost. Unemployment must reduce. Right now the pitch taking speed. And breeze is blowing. I feel a spirit is moving to St. John. So this I feel a spirit is moving on around. I feel a spirit is moving to St. John. So this I feel a spirit is shaking on the ground. All I hear is change, 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 change. That is what the spirit saying. Change, change, change. The future begins today. Change, change, change. Far more we tell us far we moving. Change, change, change. Put your hand in the air and let me see something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello. If the spirit move you to something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello. Let's go to see us you and now come to confess him. Feel the blood afraid to dream and then turn his dreams into action. Multi-billion-dollar farm, just part of his vision and leadership of all the I'm talking about feeling. I'm a love the people. I'm a who's so humble. From St. Paul to Monjalu, from Lambarry to Great Roof. Hope is coursing through the vein. On the south is what's again. Can you feel the ground shaking? Better days coming. I feel a spirit is moving through St. John. Southeast, I feel a spirit is moving on around. I feel a spirit is moving through St. John. Southeast, I feel a spirit is shaking on the ground. All I hear is change, 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 change. The future of our children. Change, change, change. Put it in the safety's hands. Change, change, change. Tell us what will bring me victory. Change, change. Put your hand in the air and let me see something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello. If the spirit move you to something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello, something hello. Let's go to see us you. Come down and feel this spirit. Come down and feel this spirit. Come down and feel this spirit. Let's go to bring us through. Feel lifted as one. Feel lifted as one. Feel lifted as one. If we want to see us you, put your hands in the air. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands in the air. If you feel the spirit moving, something show me. Put it up, show me. Put it up, show me. Feel the spirit moving. Something feel the spirit. Africa.
Yes, good night, good night, good night, Dennis Charles. I'm good. I am just trying to set up this music here. Yeah, just giving some time, but I think we get enough time to. So now it's almost past, so let's get it ball rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, good night, wherever you are in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. It's a good day to be in Grenada, a good time to be listening to Gemfm, a good time to be here with Dennis and I, and there's some other folks who are joining us, but nevertheless, we're going to kick off and keep this ball rolling right here now on Gemfm. Again, a pleasant good night to all of you in the diaspora, those of you listening around the world. We want to see a pleasant, good Saturday night, a night that is a celebratory night. Everybody still be celebrating. I know there's a big celebration in St. Mark's today, in St. John's actually, and I know that was a well-deserved celebration. And to all the constituencies, the 9 constituencies from Carriacou to Grenada, Carriacou Martinique to Grenada, it's celebration time. And Monday, the work starts. And a lot of work to be done. And I want to want to caution the changers, the people who cry out for change. not just change, but help to rearrange, to put your best foot forward, and to ensure that what you've changed for do not fall apart because you refuse to continue supporting it. All right. Change requires that you who make the change must support the change that you have made. It is in your hands now to ensure that this ship sailing upward forward, no backward movement. Everything rests and remain on you, the people who cry out for change. The 15 people and the 9 people will not be enough to pull that ship to safer grounds and in safer hands. It requires everybody that vote, that put the X next to that heart to make it happen. You have to lead the way for the other people to join you. You must first get off the beaches and get on the playing field and play the game. No time for spectators. This time is all players. Let us outside, let the outsiders, the other governments and other people in other countries look on and see what happening and probably do the same thing. Duplicate what we do in Grenada and create the change that they want to. But you must help make the change happen. What you see, you want to do, you become that change. I think it was Gandhi who said that. Become the change that you want to see. So if you want change, become that change that you want to see. People's participation is key to the survival of the NDC. Without you, they can't do it. So expect them to call upon you now to put your hands to the plow. No longer finger pointing, time for the game to change. And you is the one in the driver's seat. All right? Dennis Charles, welcome and good night. How you doing, my brother?
Yes, so I'm very happy, very excited. What we had is nothing short of a miracle coming from very little money, little funding. Most of the candidates, nobody knew about them a year ago. And to defeat a party entrenched in Grenadian politics with the monies, the connections to folks with, billions and so forth. That's not an easy task, you know, and the majority of these guys are under the age of 50. So that is amazing. Never ran for office before. And to pull it off in in such a short space of time with little notice, no organization in terms of a political infrastructure, that is just something. So I'm glad that I live to see the removal of the NNP. I mean, this is the end of it. Pretty much it's done, dead right now, no coming back. And so that Grenada could breathe a little bit of oxygen and forward. And I'll do whatever I can to support the change, but also to lead by example, to be a part of it. Right. I have a lot I could contribute, and I'll make sure we move forward and succeed.
But that's my thing. And I want to say that because we have seen a lot of those things happen. Everybody want change. And when it's time to put their hand to the plow, they draw them back. And I want to encourage the followers and the people who advocated for the change, now they have the change, is now more than ever to put themselves in the driver's seat and help make the change become a real reality by production of what is to be to make it happen better. Last night and Thursday night, Friday night, and tonight, we have been going through the pros and the cons of the election. What make it happen? What the NNP did to make it happen? What the NNP did to cost them the election? And what they could have done better, and what the NDC could have done better to win all 15 seats, right? So from you, let me hear from you. What your thoughts are? First of all, what was to you? What was the most outstanding thing that the pros that you thought the NDC have done better with to muster up the support?
Yes, the NDC focused on the voting population. The majority of voters in Grenada now are under the age of 50 also, right? So we're starting from 18 years old Actually, I think 60% is between the age of 40 and 18. So these are young folks, probably just have a family, a kid or two. And the energy, that drive to attract them to Deacon using social media, which I'm pretty good at too, myself. You know, they use the Calypsonian. We have the best Mitchell and we like him. Yeah. And that Mitchell don't tell us no lie. The best Mitchell and we like him, that kind of stuff. So we connected while the NNP went abroad and got popcorn or pop peas or whatever your name is.
It was entertainment, no substance. Entertainment. That's what it was.
Entertainment, just wine on stage. That's the same what they've been doing for God knows how many years. You get up and you jump up on stage and you want to pelt waste. You have no agenda. You wouldn't debate Deacon Mitchell to know what your plan for the next 5 years are. So it was a given. They just gave Deacon the election.
You think that that would have been a negative thing for them?
Yes, it is a negative because it means that you have no economic agenda. You don't move a country forward by entertainment. Move a country forward by plans, concrete plans that we could debate, discuss, implement. You know? Yes, not by going on stage and pelt waste and go down low and go up high and all them kind of stuff. That is just nonsense.
You know, one of the things that probably stood out in a lot of people's mind was this one thing, that there's no broad-based agenda, no development agenda for Grenada coming from the NNP to see what they're going to do in 5 years. I mean, that too, the two parties presented their manifesto in the last couple days, 2 days before the election. Do you think that had any bearing on anything at all? Because it did not come out early to me enough all year. I think it was strategically placed that way. Everybody showed their hands because the NNP came with this after the NDC came with this. Did that have anything to do in the last 2 days before the election to contribute to NNP winning, NDC winning?
Yes, that is correct. In fact, the NDC pulled back a little bit, you know, in terms of discussing specifics, because what was happening, I myself, you know, my background is, you know, economics, finance and all of that. And I noticed, and I don't want to talk about me personally, I want to talk more about the NDC, but what the NNP were doing, they were pretty much listening to other ideas and jumping on the bandwagon and taking it and making it part of the platform. It means that they do no research, no homework, and they were copying, if I could use that word, you know, work to make it. So the NDC, you don't want to put out your war chest, right?
Yes.
So they sit back and immediately they jump on it. I remember years ago, I was talking about another income stream for Grenada relative to the CBD, you know, cannabidiol and all of that from hemp, or, you know, I was talking about medical marijuana and using the School of Medicine to help separate the THC out of the compound. So we end up with CBD, which is legal. It's legal in all 50 states here, in Canada too, right? So once you remove the THC, the tetra part of it, right? You don't get high. You don't, as the Rasta used to say, you mill ahead, you get high, you know? So once you put that high component, you're good to go, and it's all medicine.
Yeah, but what he's saying is that the marijuana issue would have been another point scored by the NDC?
Yes, the Deacon is open to that and open to decriminalization. And, you know, so the NNP immediately jump on the bandwagon. Peter David come out and talk about, oh, well, we're going to find, you know, start a commission or something like that and look into the legalization, blah, blah, blah. You know, it doesn't matter what you say. They don't read, they don't research, they don't study nothing. But the minute you come out with your idea and they find it sounds good, bam, they jump on it. Tomorrow morning, they make a program, no substance, just to vaporize what you said.
Right. Another thing, because The NMP had enough time in their time in office, the 10 years, to really muster up enough support if they wanted to with the marijuana issue, and they did not do it. Why wait until now?
Yes, and then the youth. And when you look around the world, I am in the United States, you are in Canada. In all, I mean, you go to Europe, go to Germany, Denmark, Sweden, you know, wherever you go, it doesn't make a difference. The medicinal properties, there is no compound out there as potent and has so many different benefits.
Let me ask a question
from marijuana. I don't smoke, but I could tell you.
Well, the whole idea of winning the election, all right? We had the marijuana issue came up, and according to the survey done by Don Pierre, on the top of the list of the 20 things that Grenada wanted was the pension issue. And they trusted Deacon over Kit Mitchell to ensure that Grenada get a pension. Do you, in your opinion, how much of that weighed in on the victory of the NDC?
I would say more than 50%. Way more than 50, could even be 75, because trust me, public workers in Grenada, after you spend your lifetime contributing because of love of country to the island of your birth, you should not retire in poverty. You go home and you don't have a penny coming at the end of the month.
But another thing that I want the listeners who will be listening now and after to rest assured that not everybody will be qualified to receive the pension. If you were not, I think, if my memory serves me right, if you were not appointed by the Public Service Commission, right, you're not entitled to a government pension, to the pension scheme. So a lot of people who probably work in the road, do a lot of liquor jobs, or work in the school, and they were not appointed by the commission, they will not be entitled for pension, if my memory serves me right. So that will be another challenge to have to deal with, because information in regards to pension may be something that has to be talked about in a serious way. Who is qualified? And the new government is not responsible for that. They'll be meeting a problem that will explain and educate people on who is responsible for, who is responsible for setting it up, and who set it up, and why it was set up that way. And they have to understand that they cannot just give everybody, if you didn't qualify under the law, for it. So that will be another challenge, that educating everybody, to the population, that everybody qualify for that pension. That will be another story. So that have to be educated. We have to be educated on that, because not everybody will be getting. Everybody who work will be getting a pension. All right. So people who was not hired by the Public Service Commission, my memory serves me right, I stand corrected, that they will not be qualified for the pension if it didn't come in under the Public Service Commission. All right. And not everybody was employed through that commission. So that's another thing. All right. So, however, the number one issue besides the survey is people wanting the pension. The second thing was healthcare. I did not hear so much about healthcare on the campaign, but it's something that people wanted. It was talked about, but I think more attention was given to the pension and agro-industry, agriculture. How much of that expectation by the people was gravitated into the healthcare situation that caused them to vote for the NMP, for the NDC?
Well, I'll tell you what. Regarding the healthcare situation, I mean, as bad as it is worse for us as returning nationals. I don't want to use the word JCBs, you know. My uncle was a musician. That song, Grenada, May God Bless You. He's a brass man in that. We play all the time. And he just left Tivoli. He's in Tivoli now. And last week went back to England. He had a little situation worried about. I think he's diabetic, you know. And he would not go to the General Hospital in Grenada. You jump on a plane and go all the way back to London.
Right.
It's bad, but you know, you have to look at the where the money is. Grenadians are wealthy people. We have about 240,000 of us abroad. and that is Toronto, Canada, England, New York and all of that here in the United States and so forth. So the bulk of money we have, if we add all our assets, what we own and all of that, we go back with our pension, what we get, or we have our 401k and annuities and all of that. That's a lot of assets to bring to bear. By the time you use the exchange rate of 269 or 59, whatever, per dollar, and you convert that, that's, if you get 50,000 Grenadians decide, hey, I'm going back and help build Grenada. With that money, we swim in wealth. Because besides that, they would contribute. Money has a multiplier effect, because once it circulates, another person get a buck, they do something, they buy food or whatever, another person make $1, and it goes wrong and wrong like that. That is how it circulates in the economy internally. So you just need to attract us back, help us to return.
Let me say this. How much of these people, returning nationals, how much would they contribute, open business or set up business in Grenada to help boost the unemployment rate in Grenada? What percentage of that do you think will go back and engage in business?
Let me tell you, people are going back right now.
What percentage? We will go back, yes, but how much of this?
I would say we could get easy at least 25%, because nobody wants to remain in England at age, 70 and all of that, or be cold and dreary as ever, or Canada cold too. Yeah. And go and enjoy Grandance Beach or go Battery and all of that, take a little Easter, Hope Beach or wherever it is, and suck some mango. We want to go. I want to go. I already went back and did what I had to do down there. And just in the space of 1 year, I have contributed, I don't want to say the price of my house. Yeah, so I don't want to go there. Okay, to the Grenadian economy. All right, and all the things I had to buy and repair, and I employed so many folks to the repairs. At one point, I had 5. I fired them. I had 6. They were working too slow, right? And so they eat from that. They were able to feed their children, and they get paid. I paid them every day. In fact, not on the week. I paid them in the day. As soon as they finish work, I paid them. And sometimes I drop them to Grenville or wherever it is, to get home. So that is just me alone. That's just one person, right? And a whole number of folks were able to get a little income.
Right.
They have skills to paint, capping tree, whatever, even to cut trees, right? So that's just one person. So if you take out of the 200 and something thousand, 25% would be.
What about sustainable employment, though? Something that will last long, open a business venture, something that will be able to.
Yeah, well, that too. I am interested in agro-processing.
Long-term
ideas to go down and do something. In fact, I took a sample from an Indian restaurant of something which I'm not going to name so that somebody get the idea. And I brought it down to another person home who has her own business. And trying for her to figure out the combination, how to come up with it, and what she think the ingredients are, and so forth and so on. And those things could be marketed, packaged, and sold, and all of that. We have ideas we want to. In fact, that very same person had applied to the government to get a loan so she could scale her operation. And because it's not an NNP, they told her she ain't getting a black cent. I spoke about that before.
Right. But okay, so that is what, because I want to say that because government have to create incentive for businesses, right? It's like there's laws on the books that is there that is to enable businesses to people to get into business in Grenada. There's not I was looking at last time. And it's not plenty money to start and to get it to really start business, whether you're at a 14-bedroom hotel, a 20-bedroom hotel, a 40-bedroom hotel, the price is almost the same, right? What is it that preventing other people, locals, from going back to Grenada and open a hotel or a bed and breakfast for themselves? And that will also create employment for people. Some people in the furniture industry, in the automotive business. How much of what Grenada really need now? What the need assessment is for Grenada economy that will create employment for everybody?
Yeah, well, you see, if you look at development from a long-term point of view, right? If the government did not focus 100% on the hotel industry, South St. George, and foreign investor, which is a failure. And in fact, it came back to bite them, because after COVID, you realize most of the tourist people, they jump on a plane or a boat and they went back where they came from. And for a long time, no cruise ship, they were not coming in, which means the local restaurants, the local, the taxi people, bus drivers or whatever, as far as moving them around, they want to see Granite Town, they want to go to Belmont Estate and see the chocolate and all of that. All these guys and them, they were broke. The economy was not diversified, which was a mistake. And it was centralized in South St. George, which is another mistake, right? And then the locals did not control. We don't own the cruise ship. The hotels that were built by foreigners, we don't own them. The higher management staff, they are not Grenadians. And the locals, you get a little job to rake the leaves in the yard and cut grass.
But from my information, the Grenadian owned hoteliers are the most profitable on the island. They're doing a very good job as well. So you really need all. I mean, yes, you need foreign investors. It's great to get the foreign money and bring a different taste and flavor to Grenada. What is it that will be for you? We talked about it last time. I want to hear from you. What would be the NDC best forward move to the first 100 days?
Yeah, number one, what I think the NDC has to do right now is to consolidate power to secure themselves against sabotage. They have some house cleaning to do. I had a video I did on it not too long ago. And the mistakes made in the past by Tillman Thomas, 2008 and so forth, we don't go back into that naive period, thinking that you would take all the holdovers, the political appointed people by Keith in strategic positions in government, and you leave them right there. You think they're going to come back and help you? So Tillman paid a heavy price for being either blind or.
Do you think that was it? That wasn't the real downfall for Tillman, for Tillman's.
That wasn't the only one, but that was one. That was a major one, because the agenda was to sabotage him from inside, from day one.
The whole idea of that Tillman Thomas era was more deal with Peter David, and then wasn't that what you're talking about. It really didn't make a real dent, because that could have been dealt with easily. Because we have people who got fired for literally doing that thing, but the bigger problem was the Peter David and Chester Humphrey.
Peter and Nazim, the infighting. Well, it wasn't much against
Peter and Tillman. Naz just our people expected Naz to support Peter. That didn't happen.
No, it did not happen. So in the end, he took it out on Naz too.
Yeah, but Naz was more principled in that respect.
Yeah.
Principled person, and Peter should know that Naz is a principled person from the experience that we all had in October. Naz is a principled person, right? Yeah. He hold tight and he hold straight up. A very firm brother. He don't waver in his commitment to anything. So to pin that thing on Peter and Naz was a miscalculation on their part as well. A lot of people thought he should have gone with them. I didn't think so. I think he did right by staying and doing what he did. Ended up emerging as the leader of the party in the end.
If he had gone, then who the choice would have been? Because remember, to make a choice between Naz or Peter. So who he would turn over the NNP to, even if, let's say, so then he got stuck. On top of the fact that he had
Peter have a choice.
Gregory Bowen.
Peter and Naz. Naz ain't going nowhere with him. Naz already had refused years ago to associate himself with NNP. Okay? So, and that was from way back in the 2000s. Way back. He refused to associate himself with them. So that's a no-no. Naz wasn't going nowhere with them. I think one of the things that have happened over the years, and with Peter didn't want Tillman to win the seat in St. Patrick's, at the time. That was a big mistake on Peter's part. It shows a lot of his pettiness and stuff like that in that regard. That didn't work for him for good. It has tried the same thing that Keith tried with Blaise, you know. But that didn't work. No,
what about Blaise saying in heaven right now, wherever he is? Boy.
That did not work. And Nas still goes. And you know, Nas, under Nas leadership, NDC had won more votes under Nas leadership than under Tillman and the others before him. So that was not a problem. The problem was a lot of people came in and they felt that, and came in from NMP and thought Nas had to go. And instead of supporting Nas and fighting back, I heard they fight for Deacon now. They didn't fight for Nas that way. They expected to fight for himself. And they came in and they criticized him and get him to step outside, right? And that didn't work good for them either. It further drive them further in a deficit, right? And if Keith had called the election in December or November, or even October last year, NMP would win the election.
Of course, he would have. So that was a mistake on his part.
He made a bigger mistake by miscalculating.
Miscalculation, because politics is such that when the enemy is down, then that's when you jump on him. You know what I'm saying? So he should have, but he waited. And the longer he waited, if he had waited after Carnival, which we were calculating, probably he would wait until folks jump up, they play the job, they bring in, I don't know, Marshall Montano and whatever, Patrice, you know, and everybody, you know, Carnival people get money, tourists come in and all of that. Everybody happy. Then he called the election. Maybe the young folks, they drink the Woodman, they vote NNP. So I myself, I was thinking maybe that is what he would do. And
but I think the whole miscalculation one, they play the inexperienced card, yeah, a little bit too much, because the people that is in the inexperienced, they have been managers in their respective portfolios outside of government, right? And they had no major screw-ups or errors or whatever you call it. Didn't have that. They managed whatever they had well. And I taking a verse of the Bible. He said, he who is good at managing little would be given greater things to manage. You know what I mean? So they did well with little things. So I myself was thinking, well, if they did good with little things with no major screw-ups, then it is good to give them something bigger to handle, which is government. Because they have managed other institutions and they work well in those institutions. And nobody can come out in the election and say, well, you know, this person wasn't good at that, this wasn't good at case of fail like this, and this wasn't feel like that. They never managed well. There was no bad report on their management skills. So it means that was even better now to move into that arena. And bear in mind that the people who gained experience in the last 10 years was new people too, in the NMP, right? So they've been there for 10 years, but they was new. They started innocent to them. They was never been parties before. So to say, because they will have 10 years and say these people have no experience, they had no experience when they get in. You see? So we can't judge somebody on an experience in that case. You have to let it be. Whatever it is, let it be. And I think that care didn't work well for them, period. Because young people wanted a change. And you cannot, although people make reference to the NSC about ageism, which really wasn't going around very well, only in the earlier part with the older folks within the NDC and on the greater population. But I think that was corrected. That misstep was corrected and explained in a way that was able to resonate with the older folks. And what you see happening, the absenteeism of certain members of the NDC started evolving and coming forward, right? And you had suggestive propaganda. In the Northeast, for example, with Nas, we thought Nas going to be joining NDC, NMP, and Nas came and said, nope, that ain't happening. You know what I mean? So he hit it right in the head, come right and he been on the platform. So Persuader was another one who was absent for a while, and people had difficulty what going on, and Persuader came out and become big thing, you know? And then the Northeast, so some parties Northeast and Northwest, right? You had this rambling with the NDC, NMP camp, right? was a big mistake for them, the big time too. And what and them in that northeast constituency as well. So that alone again had played a big role in having NDC winning that 2 seats in the northeast. Because Bowen with his carnival demonic people calling that demon, you know, that again people don't forget those things. So I think that play right in the hand of Arnold and Dennis what's his name? Cornwall. So they was gifted with the 2 seats easily. So I didn't see I didn't see a threat there. We believe that would have happened. The St. George's, not southeast and southwest. That was a given again.
I was worried about the south St. George's, the south part, because I thought Kit would maybe get the police, pull something on Andy. I mean, I ain't lying to you. Up to the last day, I say probably the man has something up his sleeve in the middle of the night. If you're gonna do something right in front of elections.
Dennis, I don't know if you understand the Ghanaian people. You see, I think probably he was advised, don't go there. Let me tell you something. Yes, Andy might have the dark side. Yes, they might have things against Andy. But this election was not time to do that. Let me tell you something, Ghanaian people. They wanted to win. And they didn't care what Andy did. You understand me? Or whatever the accusation. You hold him and pull him in the station, Grenada done. Mass done. Let me tell you something. If they had ever touched Andy there, and they touch him now, yeah, it's back on now.
I think Nazim came out and and just imagine Nazim coming out and talk, which Nazim normally don't do and say anything.
Right.
Well, if you want another revolution in Grenada, go ahead.
Yeah.
And this thing was, he had people protecting. They were going to do some things.
But let me tell you something. That would have been a game changer.
So he backed up, but he went on stage, He went on stage and he almost guaranteed.
Yeah, man. He said, Cox going to be voting. He's going to be nominated, and nomination day, it was surely other fella.
Exactly. So
statement. But I think somebody advised him, brother, keep that under wraps. That ain't happening.
Well, they read the tea leaves, because the reaction from the people down there was like, don't cross there. That's the border. Don't cross over that line. And he got the message eventually. He backed away.
But Andy,
he was going to do it. He was going to do it.
Andy was a hard spot. You don't touch hard spot. I mean, let me say something, because I don't want to sound as though, because I'm very much not in support of sexual harassment and all that stuff of women. I have 2 sisters. I have 7 sisters. I have 2 daughters, a wife. You understand? I don't want to be sexually molested by anybody, and near my daughters. All right. So whatever it is, I would not support anything like that. But in this election, you go and you touch that, it is the people who don't forgive you for that. You see, there's a difference between, you see, when people expect change and they believe in somebody that will make change for them, they don't care what they did wrong. That's one thing. Why now? Why you bring it up now? We do it all the time, and they will tell you.
Like she forgot. She forgot, but now election and the guy looked like he's gonna win. All of a sudden you run to Kit with that kind of nonsense. You didn't remember that was happening, or that happened whenever it was?
Yeah, but
you remember? All of a sudden you remember that?
Yeah, but it was there before, and I think he admitted to it, or whatever they said. That is allegedly admitting to it. Nobody really, people came forward, yes, but at the end of the day, my point is here that if you went and you touched that now, you open a can of worms you didn't want to handle.
Well, let me tell you, who is it on the NNP side could go up and say, hey, I'm squeaky clean. I mean, I don't even want to mention the Prime Minister. So let's just don't even go there. He is not the man to stand up and talk about that kind of stuff. Right. When you have wood for wood, boasting for them stuff, down to those little Imani children, we don't want to get into all of that. So the NNP had to back off, because it's 10 times worse. Those NNP ministers and folks working for them. So as I said, without substance, you fallen on, allegations, innuendos, and all of that. Well, put out your game plan and show the nation what you would do to build a better economy for us all. And not just pelting waste, bringing down popcorn and all kind of crap. And that has nothing to do with moving Grenada forward, right? We have a lot of challenges. It's a new economy around the world. The biggest, impediment to progress as far as people are concerned is technology. Technology is very good, but it could come back to bite you. It's called automation. You look at Germany and places where they use computers and robots and all of that to make cars. They don't need nobody in there. All around the clock in Japan, you have robots making vehicles and making all kind of stuff that folks used to be employed to create to make. So now you lose your job and the job ain't coming back as far as we have technology moving forward.
I heard Elon Musk make a suggestion about 2 weeks ago that they might pay people to be unemployed because
they start doing that in Scandinavia.
Paying people to stay home because
they pay them to stay home and they pay them to make children because the rate at which folks die, they don't make any children. You never see anybody over there pregnant. Period. Yeah. In fact, they have a habit of going around the Caribbean and other places and picking up young black men and marry them, bring them to Sweden and Norway and Denmark and those kind of stuff. They, get pregnant, make a child or two. They just don't.
Yeah, but I think what happened. One of the things that happened though in this election, another thing that I think also that created a buzz, and people probably may pay attention to it, but that was a big thing when Deacon was reading out the manifesto. The education system of making TAMCC free, completely free.
Oh yes.
Only that secondary school education would have been free. Or creating the other outlets after my show, TAMCC outside of the parish of St. George's. Not to worry about bus fares in a big way to come to St. George's to study. They could study in the parishes wherever they are. That to me was a very big thing. Right? That to me was big. I think that he gained some real points on that. Right? That the promise of the pension is a big pointer. Too, I give 10 out of 10 for that. The scoring of the education, free education across the board for that, for high school and TAMCC, that is big. That's good. The third big score, another 10, is the marijuana issue, another 10. The other thing was the agro industry, another 10. So you get from me, you get this 410 big time from me. So out of 100 and that thing, you got the 40 there.
You're missing one. I know you get all the big ones. Those are the biggies. But they talk about a new mindset. Because if you created a culture of dependency, I'm talking about handouts, where a government minister would come in and drop a little food money. Yeah. 40, cook some brown down, a bottle of Woodman or whatever it is. Yes. And then they would go to another parish. Let's say they drop by Tivoli. They go to Poetry, they do the same thing. They go to River Sally Junction. They drop a little Woodman money, cook a pot. And then they go, I don't know, Montreach or Chantemel, whatever, same thing, cook a pot, that kind of way. I mean, you don't develop an economy by giving handouts to folks who literally have to beg.
Right. But do you realize another demographic of people, right? In that northeast constituency, southeast northeast corridor there. That's all this. That the most of the people who voted, and no disrespect to them, it's a sort of a list of those people. The most of the people, that 49% of those people there, are either high school dropout or primary school dropouts.
Yes, we know that, and
those people also are unemployed or almost unemployed. Right? And this is what the survey showed, and that's why they win the seats, because it shows also, and this is not no makeup stories, that was on the ground facts, that the survey showed that, right, that the most educated people voted for the NDC. So NDC challenge work is cut out for them to get that northeast St. Andrews,
Yes.
or East St. Andrews in line.
Yes.
And educate that way, bring that level up of educating these people, getting them back on the foot again.
Yes.
Get them back to school, get them back to doing some tertiary work, schooling, get them back there and have them educated. So leave this standard of living for them beyond what they have right now. Get them out in the schools. Go out, have people feel after like in the PRG time. We used to go out and camp and get people to go to register to read and write. Get them back into night school, right? I know a brother right now who's a very prolific writer right now. He couldn't read and write. And he's an amazing writer right now. He learned to write in CP. Mm-hmm. And now he also support NDC.
Mm-hmm.
Because he left a consciousness of reason. And there's people who learn. I met a brother over here many years ago. Part of my first probably 5-6 years of being here. I was traveling down on Eglinton, walking across with my wife. And this guy would rush up to me and you know, he was so overwhelmed just to see me. And I couldn't figure out for what, really. And he introduced me to his wife and saying, and he tell me who he was. I say, okay, I know you are now. And he was telling his wife about me. And that he came to Canada before me. I didn't know when he came to Canada then, but he told me what time he was in Canada. He'd been here before me. And he said that he went back to school, he upgraded himself, and because I taught him to read and write. He was able to be able, he said one of the greatest experience he had was writing and filling that form on the plane. He was able to understand and fill that form. That form that he gave you, that without asking somebody a question. For him, that was a great achievement in his education. Yeah? Came back here, went to school, he's a computer specialist. He doing computer work and stuff like that, right? He had some computer technician, right? And he was telling his wife about me and what the Ocean has done for him. And so I didn't know, he was almost worshiping me on the street. So I went to church this Sunday, not expecting, I didn't know my pastor was on the street, was driving along and watching that. And he said, you don't know what about me, but he saw something happening on Eglinton. And he said, I was worshiping Brother John. You know, so he made mention of it and he asked, what was this about? So I explained to him, he said, oh, really? I said, yes, that's what we do. We educate people, you know? And hence the reason today, I mean, when I started the magazine, my motto was always education and liberation. And that was one of the reasons why I chose that motto for the magazine and for Gemfm. Education is liberation. Because once you educate somebody, you liberate them. You see?
Empower them, yeah.
As you empower people, reading is a big key to man's life. Understand? Don't matter what culture you're from. You learn to read in your culture, your language, you read. You could understand the culture, you will make it. Right? Imagine that if nobody, okay, English was not your first language. A lot of people come to this country and language is a barrier. English is a barrier for them with the Chinese, Mandarin, Arabic, whatever. When they come to this country, not America, they want to learn English. Some of them have no idea, they have never spoken English before, and they want to learn it. So they put all the order in. It's an opportunity for them to grow, an opportunity for people to teach them. Yes? So English as a second language was a powerful thing. So I think what we need to do, what NDC need to do, is to dive right into that northeast, southeast corridor and fix it. I think
I agree, because I did a little bit of walking around with Tessa. I love her to death. I feel so bad we didn't get it. I'm talking about the northeast.
Yes.
The southeast, St. Andrew. The gentleman came by my place, and I like him too. He's so humble, you know, and he means well. But we started out late, and I mean, he called the election and catch us. So we're going to take the 9 we get. Yes, we wanted more, but he caught us by calling it that late and tried to limit the time you could go ready for people to vote. But one point you made, I wanted to touch back on. You mentioned it, but I want to broaden it a little bit. The scope of, you know, like concentrating everything in St. George. Grenada is not St. George alone. You kill development. There is something called in economics opportunity cost, right? It means really the time you waste. when you could have been more productive,
Right.
if you calculate the time factor. So in other words, if you come from, let's say, Rose Hill, and you have a job in Umbrellas, St. George, Granance Beach. Now you got to take a bus from Rose Hill, you go Grenville. You may lucky to get one straight to town, but most times you get a bus depending on when you leave, and then from Grenville you take another one to town, right? From there you have to get to St. George. I mean, South St. George, right? Okay. They drive very fast from early in the morning, speeding to get on this. You could go to work for 8. In the when you finish now in the afternoon, you got to do the same thing, rushing back up again. Now, if you add how many hours per day in terms of travel, and Grenada is a small country, right? But if you add how many hours you're stuck with, this bus and that other bus, that time could have been used productively someplace else. If you're walking, probably in Sauterres, 10 minutes. You understand what I'm saying? Or Grenville, 15 minutes. So you cannot squeeze every factory or industry or hotel or whatever it is you want to do in St. George or South St. George, which is the far tip of the island.
That's why I say this. When you don't have no vision, people perish. Right? It's a fact. I want to say something. And Bernard Kuro was here 2 months ago. All right. I never sent you this, the Revo economics. Okay.
No, I didn't get it. Send it to me.
Okay. He said, and it is in the document, the PRG plan was when you move PERS into St. George's, you cannot don't develop St. Andrews.
Exactly.
Okay? He said his plan was what they didn't want to do is to create a ghetto in St. George's, a slum in St. George's. You're overpopulated in St. George's. You didn't want that. So what they had done they got money funded MAP for 4 projects. One was the Deepwater Harbor in Grenville.
Yes.
Understand how Grenville under sea level, so all that was already engineered in place to start in 1984. Plan 1. Plan 2, to open another agro-industrial plant in St. Andrews. Involve and one in St. David's. What you're doing, you're creating employment outside of St. George's.
Yeah.
You have to rush to St. George's to be employed.
Yes.
So you take away the burden of travel.
Yes.
1. 2, you make it more economically viable for the people in St. Andrews, St. John's, and St. David's.
Exactly.
You create employment in there, which means that the economy in those parishes will be booming as well as St. George's.
Exactly. And this is what we need. We badly need that right now.
Same document. They had monies already earmarked for all those projects. Can you imagine if people say what they want? The PRI had the best economic plan for Grenada. And if they had, and this is what the brother said, they know that Grenada wasn't able to produce all the food that they needed for the agro-industrial plan. They had been contacting government in the region, right, to get farmers there to plant, to supply Grenada. So Grenada be importing some of the foods that they don't have enough of, and also create a storage. So when they store mangoes, they will never really run out of it.
Right, right.
That was when I read that thing, and he came here and he explained to us. I said, my God, what an opportunity. But it's never too late. It could be done even today. It's not too late.
Well, John, let me just say something from the bottom of my heart in terms of agriculture. You know, your dad knew my dad, and we come from the north, of the island. And agriculture is dear to me. I did it in school in Tivoli. I passed. I went to McDonald College. I took it. I have a GCE in subject in agriculture too. I pass again. If I have a love affair with the land, right? Forget the city and all of that. Yes, I don't mind going on Granance and doing. I have a love affair, and if they tap me in terms of ideas or suggestions or whatever I can contribute, I would hop on a plane, because I knew all the farmers in my neighborhood. My dad was one. right? It was very productive from where we came. We have 5 estates around us, right? If you look at where Tivoli is located, to the northwest, you had Belmont, 1 mile away, right? A few blocks away, you had Pointsville Estate to the northeast. If you go to the east, you had River Antoine Estate, sugarcane, and a lot of bananas there too, right? They have some cocoa, but it was mainly sugarcane and rum, which you get the rivers from, right? And then, well, Conference Estate, where we live, it was cut up and sold. Then a little way around, you have Carrier Estate, right? To the southwest. I mean, you're just surrounded by estates and good agricultural land, very productive, all kind of fruits, all kind of crops, everything that we had it there. Okay. So when Hurricane Ivan and Emily hit Grenada, if the government had reforested, I don't want to use the word forest just like in just old trees, but replanted and resuscitated agriculture, right? Grenada would have been in a different place in terms of food security or self-sufficiency right now. So it is very important. You cannot be independent if somebody else is feeding you.
Right.
It makes no sense. We got to go back to the land. We have to incentivize the young folks and, let them know it's cool to feed yourself. It is cool when you walk behind your house, you look, you see eggplant, you see string beans, you see watermelon, you see tomatoes, things that we used to grow when I was young. We had rabbit, we had goat.
Right.
At one point, my father bought 4 pigs, and I had to go get vine and coconut and all of that to feed pig. I hated it, So people had sheep and everything. So why this died out? And there is nothing. And we have to depend on St. Vincent to feed us.
Right.
We have to go back to agriculture, and I would love to make a contribution there. And then Grenada would be on track to, decrease our balance of trade in terms of food imports. We could turn it around and have what you call food exports.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I don't see us making progress when we have to pay St. Vincent by Blogo breadfruit. Even cattle coming down on the boat from St. Vincent. That'll make no sense to me.
I think the problem is that when you don't have the proper people that think, you will have a major collapse of your economy. And that's what happened in NB. They haven't had any thinkers, real think tanks that will sit down and put a plan together for the future development of Grenada. All we have is hotel coming in. But no, and when we talk about agriculture, we don't talk about just going and plant column thing in the backyard and so on. Agriculture is much more than just the fork and spade kind of a mentality that people have. We still think the new thinking. There's so many things about agriculture, right? That is beyond just the planting of the fruit, the crop, the technology that involved in agriculture now. Seeding and marketing and developing different transportation of agricultural products and stuff. All that is agricultural management. You don't have to be a farmer, but agricultural management, seed management, personal resources, people resources in agriculture, managing all the different aspects of agriculture. Is like there's so many things that if you listen to Dr. Tessa Barry and she'll be on she'll be on Gemfm, she'll be on the cover of a magazine coming up next month, and you will read her story, and in the magazine as well. She has studied the greater agricultural sector so much that she had drawn the attention of B-Man. And you are saying a document there. Right? One of the things he said in his statement, he said, "Dear John, this is for you to share with that brilliant young sister in advance of my interview with her." He requested that I set up an interview with her. Right? Because when she did an interview with me, he was listening. And he said, that's a brain. That's right up where he's thinking. She's right there. So you want to share the river economics with her. So that would be a big step for her to use to go forward. It is.
I want to make sure I know when she's coming on. If I have the time, I'll well, even if I don't have it, I could set it up where I can see or be a part or whatever, or just listen. And if she focus on that, that is empowerment.
Go on there on my. She already been here twice, and on the other forums, but she been here twice already on Gemfm. We did a really extensive interview with her. We did one, but 3 times. She been one with Bona in a private one we had, private chat, and then we had one with her, herself, and then one me, she did, but and someone else that discussing the river economics. So I sent it to you. So check it out.
I am with that because I think that period of time, the 4.5 years, that's the best chance Grenada had to move forward in terms of ideas and suggestions. We put brains to work, and Grenada would have been much further developed, right? I want to say, like, if you know, forget River Antoine Estate, apart from River Antoine Estate, the whole area all the way back, I don't know, maybe to Pearls, those areas used to be heavily cultivated. We had a lot of sugarcane, a lot of banana, because we have water, right? A lot of kind of rivers and ravines and all of that. And also some of what we call the lake, first lake, second lake, third lake. Even where they build the new sugar, the rum factory, the area there, all that was water, right? Areas you used to go and catch fish. So it was very easy to pump water, and whatever you want to do, you get a bucket, you know? So in terms of crops, if those idle lands that nobody working right now, they turn into woods. If we focus on creating small work gangs, co-ops, right? So some of the unemployed young men, we put them in a team, all right? You have maybe somebody in England, they're old, they don't care, they're not coming back, the children don't want the land, whatever. You pay the taxes, you debush. We get mechanized debushing. We get little tractors and little tillers and stuff, right? We clear the soil, we contour. I don't want to use the word fork, they don't do that anymore. But you create the channels, right, for the water and all of that. And you can grow enough tomatoes, potatoes, I don't care, whatever it is you want to grow. Right now, the hottest thing down there in Grenada is soursop. They steal it a lot. But soursop could take a beating, you know? We could grow soursop like crazy from all the way, let's say from River Sally come down, right? Okay. And increase the monies that we get from export. In Georgia here, a pound of soursop is $13.
You know, I hear this argument quite often. What we need to do is to manage resources, because you need to have a market. The marketing board take charge of all this stuff, and that's what the purpose of it for, to do the aid in the exportation and marketing of the product. So if it be done, if what is set up to be done, I think Deacon said, he will ensure that it is done, it is set up to do what it was supposed to do. So
well, you need the whoever the Minister of Agriculture is. We had one, I don't know what he just 2 photo ops in how many years. He did nothing for agriculture.
Exactly. So my point is that it has to be done right. It has the management of our resources, and agriculture is one of our resources, right? So the products that farmers plant and everything like that, the Market and National Importing Board must be able to do that well and do it the way it should be done, so farmers could benefit from it, the country benefit from it, and let the farmers continue planting and let them handle marketing for them. You understand?
And they be part of the process. Yes. And you mentioned something about Simon, you know, Pearl's area there. I talked about having a factory, you know, the construction of factory shells, right? Where people could make whatever it is they're good at. Back then, we had what was called home economics in school, right? People used to call it cooking, but not only cook, they teach you a lot of stuff to make all kind of damsel stew, tamarind balls, whatever things you cake, whatever things you could make. So you could start up your own mom and pop, your little business yourself. You get a little help and so forth.
I think Deacon challenge talk about that. Once somebody asked him, about, let me see, somebody asked him one of the town house about the wayside mechanic kind of thing. And he said, look, I can't quote the exact words, but he said that it's fine. You understand that? But if you don't set up a roofing, let's say a place, a central place, where those guys could go in and do the repairs for themselves. So you come in there, for example, open Tivoli by Ramney shop, they have a full big garage place where guys fixing cars. Instead of on the side, you create that place.
That's what I'm saying.
You go in there and they fix the car, you're coming in, not on the side of the road and make it hazardous for everybody else. They go in there, and if you don't have no principle, you can't put a law in place without, so for example, if you have a law in place for vendors, you have a place to create a mini market where vendors will go inside there and sell the product. Everybody know that's where they are. So they go inside. For example, the flea market, people sell inside the road. They have a flea market and they go in front and sell stuff, to go inside there and buy their stuff. Same thing, create the environment. And then they go in there and say, people know where they are, so the people go there and look for them. Is that how the man say I shouldn't go in?
Like in back, yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. You call that thinking forward or forward leaning, and you take all those ideas. I mean, we don't have anything planned. The government go in there, Keita, no ideas. You don't know what he's doing, and he hire people, he whine, he dance, whatever.
What I was doing, I think it was purposely done to keep people in subjection. You create a culture of dependency, okay? To create, let me tell you something. Some government, they rule by chaos. They rule by creating problems. So the more problems they have, the more they keep people at bay. The more what it says, and a lot of
people depend on them.
Yes, exactly.
$1
I noticed one thing that dictators use brutal force and simplistic ways of keeping people oppressed, so they depend on them. And the people don't realize that they're oppressed because they enjoy a little benefit from the dictator, right? So you give up, yes, but you're oppressing them, but they don't see it. It's like, I have a lion in a cage, and I'm beating the lion every day about feeding it. I'll never let the lion go hungry about beating the lion every time to be in subjection. In part, you don't physically beat them, psychologically derange them, but you're feeding them. So food, I get in the money, I get them, but I don't walk in. But I get it. So psychologically, you're manipulating them, but you're feeding them.
Yes.
Good thing. You don't develop the living standard, but you're making sure they get fed. You understand? So when they have talk, eat your food. So you have eat food, okay, I don't want to work. Again, $200-300. What am I working to do?
Yeah, they eat your food and they continue begging. Well, let me tell you something, right? The new government, I mean, these guys are way smarter than myself. And as I said, they listen, they look, they're probably looking at your program right now, right? And I know they would implement a whole lot of stuff because we already exposed the ideas on air or online, right? Yeah. Energy is something else we have to look at. The war in Ukraine would go on for a little bit, and it has already cost many countries their independence. I mean, they're going back to coal now.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
America have made it true. I can't know about they play a bad card on the Ukraine thing. And he hurting them more than he hurting Russia.
He's hurting us, and he hurting poor people like us in Georgia. We drive. In New York, I don't know if you take the train in Canada, you jump in.
What just happened, right? McDonald's move out of Russia, right?
Yeah.
What's this? The McDonald's closed down. They changed the name. They're still doing business.
And some Russians take it over and they're selling the same bread.
So they don't lose employment. People still working.
Yes.
Yes, at a cheaper rate than America. Yes, the economy is moving faster than America. The dollar is even higher than the American dollar right now. 40% of
35-40%
of its value right now. So America, they shoot themselves in the foot. They put it. I mean,
you know what happened when America catch it or sneeze? We in the Caribbean, we catch a cold because we are so connected and dependent, right? The price of when I was down there, how much I was paying for a gallon? I believe I was paying about $15 a gallon. I don't know what it is right now, but boy, the electric bill in your house, you got a ton of daylight. I sleep in darkness, right? But not only that, the water rate, the company is called Nawasa. Oh boy, you're not in your house and they're hitting you some bills. I don't know. They say air get into the meter. I don't know. Well, stop the air from getting into the meter because people who don't have a job, they already shut the standpipe we used to have back then when you were in Grenada, when I was in Grenada, you know, everybody had a standpipe. You're going to take your little bucket, you tote your water, you go maybe you feed your animals, you give your goat water, your sheep or whatever it is, fine. Yes. They put on all of that, right? So now you have to run pipe to your house and they put a meter on you. So now you can't even bathe for 10 minutes.
But I mean,
you're in Barbados, you have to just take a dry, you dry clean quick, fast, and you get out.
I think the rate for water, I think Grenada have, I don't know if I can't remember the highest rate or whatever. But what I'm saying, I mean, water have to be paid for treatment and stuff like that, and I think what have to be done must be done in a way that is affordable and not overtaxing people on water.
I mean, the poor people that pay. It's the poor people that fill in it. And if you want to develop a country, I think the last time I was on your program, or maybe I don't know who program I talked about that, you cannot develop a country if you go back to the infrastructure of, I don't know, decades when we were colonized or whatever it is, right? Back then, you know, Grenada was all the islands, British islands in particular, for mule and donkey cart. The road was narrow for a horse to pass with some cane or molasses to bring to St. George, right? Okay, good. And the pipe, they put it under the road, under the street. Now with the big trucks in Grenada, with all that heavy equipment, you should see them, right? They bust in the pipe all the time. That is one. The second thing, all the hotels concentrated in South St. George, they need pressure because those tourist people, they got to bathe, you know? So they had to increase it, so they bust in the pipe too because the pressure too high. So the government never build a dam or 2 or 3 to increase the supply of water. And not only that, water is good for agriculture too. As I said, back in the time, we used to have the pipe running in our land the whole night, 24/7, 365 days of the year. We had the most cocoa, the most mango, the most fruits, the most, you know. But now you cut it out, you squeeze everybody to run a pipe to the house. They don't even want to bathe for 2 minutes. They're scared, right? Quick, and they out. You understand me? And at the same time, you kill the little garden behind the house where they could grow enough crops and water it in the evening time. And they could sell and consume some for themselves too. We had to import everything from St. Vincent. So Nawasa is making money. You generate revenue. What you do at the same time, you kill the local economy. You make life hard for folks up in the country.
What have to happen? You have a revamping of the economic system of Grenada. It doesn't. Present construct doesn't work for Grenada.
It doesn't work.
You need new. I'm confident that this new government will make that change that Grenada really needs to improve and get Grenada benefited. However, having said that, it is incumbent upon the people of Grenada to participate in the process. And one of the things I admire Deacon saying and wishing that he followed through on it, to continually having the town hall meeting, continue having not only him, but the different ministers and bureaucrats go into the community and face question and answer from them about projects in their communities. So that way they get a better feel and people will report to these people and say, look, well, this is what we want happening in our community and how we could employ people in the community to do the work. Because there are a lot of people who may not be able to read a plan, but they get somebody who read the plan and have them do the work. You know, you have created industries in Grenville. You have an industrial plan. Make sure that happens. The promise to do one in St. David. Make sure it happens. Because these are the things that you campaign on. The promise that you have made with those people, they're expecting it, to happen. And you have to let them know, you get in office, you set certain things right, you have to understand what is there, what the cash flow is like, You have to go through the books of the government. It will take you about a month or two to go through that whole books to see what and where revenue is, what coming in, what not coming in, where who not paying taxes and who need to collect.
That's gonna be a hard one because let me tell you, on the books for a long time, everything was under the table.
Right.
So I don't know.
I tell you or not, we have to explain to the ground people, look, this is what have to happen. And you don't be afraid to tell people, because one of the things you're elected to report to your people of what's going on in the government. And once you start doing this to me, that is one of the pillars of a democracy, where you will go to your people, explain to them, not just election them, but keep that campaign going. Don't stop campaigning. Don't stop meeting with your people, because that's where you're going to start building momentum for the next election. Once you stop, you shoot yourself in the foot. So NDC has to continue campaigning, keeping the promises of having the town hall meetings, meeting with the people, hearing from them, so you can relate one-on-one with the people. And that is key for the survival and the drawing in of the NMP folks that will lose the election to maintain those what they win. That would be
that is a good point, and I believe nothing is as important as bonding and blending with the people. We're in this together. We want to know what your concerns are, how we can help, how we can assist. Let us know your problems, what you want to improve, what you want us to build for you, and so forth. And we would go back and come up with a plan. Give us your ideas. You live in the community, you know exactly what is bothering you guys. For instance, in Upper St. John, water was a problem up there. Somebody took on his own and build a little dam. And our folks getting a whole lot of water that they were not getting before. If you go to Shamba area there, the Sulphur Spring, River Sally I'm talking about, right? Yeah. The Sulphur Spring is one of its kind. And that could have been developed better if the government saw it fit that, hey, this could be a big tourist attraction. And if you look at the health benefits of sulfur, it kills fungus. Or mold and skin problems like that. You take a dip in that, you rub, you let it, the sunlight heat it for a little bit. You come back, you're good. All foot and nail fungus and all of that dead, right? But besides that, it's one of a kind. This should have proper lighting, proper signage. They should widen the road. They could use the laws of eminent domain and make that a gem, like a national treasure, right? So we have that, we have Pathway, we have Funier, we have Hope, and many other places. But those dumb, not doing anything.
What would you see happen though? A negotiation start back with the University of West Indies to bring back that place, the University of Western Grenada, to have that. That would be a very big event. That would be huge for Grenada. Whoever needs some education should pursue having that conversation again. Under Tilman's government, it was happening. So let that go back and reconnect with that institution and have that happen. Yeah.
Who's coming in?
Hello, good night.
Brother John.
Hey, good night, brother. How you doing?
I am doing good.
All right, we're live on the radio here.
I'm live.
Yes, you can call through the live line. And my phone is tapped into the radio station.
Oh, your phone? Oh, okay. In that case, let me say good evening to you and good evening to your guests, and also to your listeners and viewers. I don't know, those of you who's accustomed to being on Gemfm and who have been regular viewers, you may recognize the voice as being Pablo.
Yes.
Howdy, Pablo, man. Pablo, how are you doing? Dennis here.
I hosted this very show.
Yes.
When Brother John was down with the COVID-19 for quite a while.
Yes, sir.
So I was hoping to join live, but because of where I'm located, it's not convenient to do so.
Okay.
So I decided, well, I would still call in and say, and just share in the conversation.
Good, very good. Very good.
But Brother Dennis, I see you are going to say something.
Man, I love hearing you. It's a while I didn't hear your voice, and you know, trust me, whenever I come back, we gotta, bro.
Are you hearing Pablo? Pablo, okay, I got to get you go into Dennis line here to make it happen. Let me call it right back.
Yeah, you have to keep Brother Dennis so he could be part of the ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
But in any event, yeah, Brother Dennis is speaking, but we're not hearing him.
Okay, hold on. Let me call you right back and let me switch back and call you back. All right. Okay, you there? Let me get.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, here. Guys, are you hearing Pablo now?
I hear him speak. Ask him if he can hear me.
Hearing him now, Pablo?
No, I'm not hearing him. I'm not hearing him via the phone.
Okay, Pablo, hang up and I'll call you and call me back. Come back on WhatsApp.
Hang up and call you back?
Yeah, come on WhatsApp, yes. Yeah, that was Raphael Paul. He was, okay, very good. All right. Good night, Pablo.
Yeah?
Yes. Dennis, are you hearing Pablo now?
I can hear him. Can you hear me, Brother Paul? Can you hear me? Why not have him come in on Zoom? He cannot come in?
He said the way he can't even do it there.
The internet is not good.
Hold on. Let me see. Pablo, I'm hearing Pablo. You should be able to hear him. He's right through the system.
I'm not hearing him.
No? Pablo, are you hearing Dennis? I think Pablo getting back out. I lose Pablo. Okay, I lost him. Okay. That should be better now. I think it should be fine.
Sorry, guys. We're trying to work out a little technical problem. Okay, so just hang in there with us.
All right, Raphael Paul, Uncle Pablo.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, Brother John. Yes, Brother John.
All right, Dennis, are you hearing Pablo now?
I'm hearing you.
I can hear him.
Okay.
Brother Paul, can you hear me? No.
Can you hear Dennis?
What did he say?
Dennis, you still could hear him.
Can you hear me? I'm speaking. Can you hear me? How are you doing? Uh-oh.
Very, very low anyway.
Very low. Yeah, very low.
Hardly.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, Pablo. Yeah. Okay, Dennis, I think go ahead. Up Dennis volume a little bit. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I wish he could have heard me, but maybe next time the location where he.
Yeah.
All right. So I was talking about energy, and the cost of energy would be transferred to the local person, the end user. So the busmen driving to St. George and all of that, they're gonna jack up the price, and the people who ride the bus to go to work in South St. George and all of that, it will be hard for them. They're gonna have less money in their pocket, right? As far as the purchasing power, they go home with less because the bus fares increase. The government has to look at diversification. That's important, that you create employment away from St. George now. Okay, you cannot have all these people trying to squat around Montouth and all of that shantytown stuff going on down there in the back of Frequency and all of that too. So we have to bring employment, gainful employment. St. Andrews being the biggest parish, we have open areas around Pearls, Simone. Let that be an economic hub, right? Where we produce a whole lot of stuff. That companies come there. More business.
I want to get in Pablo here on the victory. I want to, because Pablo has been working really hard in his constituency in St. Mark's. I think Pablo was the chairman, if I'm correct, of the St. Mark's constituency. Pablo, tell us, I know you had a big celebration in St. John's today. You have in between the two constituencies. What is the mood of the people in St. Mark's, even though they have Queens have lost the seat. What is the mood of the people in that constituency, the NDC supporters?
Brother John, what I can tell you is the mood in these constituencies are not unique to them.
Mm.
The mood in the constituencies is prevalent throughout the country.
Right.
That mood is a mood of relief, a sense of a yoke being taken off the back of the people of Grenada.
Mm.
That is the mood in the country. There's people who have been long-standing supporters of the NNP, and they too are feeling a sense of relief.
Right.
That now they do not have that element of fear and intimidation that, well, okay, they will be removed from the seed program because they say something unfavorable about the parliamentary representative or the government.
Right.
So there is that great sense of relief that now people will have an opportunity for them to be able to say, without any fear of political reprisals, that the government is wrong. Because people did not have the right to say that the government is wrong. We have seen the fight that people like Ashida Charles and so, who those of you who know her as Nife and Human on Facebook, received from this government. Yes, because they dared the people like the Cassandra Mitchell, the people like the Olmu clan, the people like the Kem Jones. We've seen the pressures, the people like the Kalisha Faria. Yeah, we've seen the way these people have been challenged because they dared to say that the government is wrong. So there is that general sense of relief, and there is a sense of great and high expectation for this administration and the deliveries. Okay? Deacon Mitchell has been consistent in his messaging, in the narrative that he provided from day one, from the day he became the political leader of the NDC on the 31st of October 2021. In his acceptance speech, his presentation there, and the issues that he addressed, he has been consistent from then up to this point. And I don't expect him to change.
Right.
First of all, one has to consider also the fact that Grenada, well, we used to be discussing those issues during that time when we had the COVID-19 bill coming on stream and Cassandra was looking out and all that came out of it.
Right.
There was high expectation for the growth and development of a youth initiative that was going to lead the charge. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, remember that discussion taking place?
Yes, we did.
Right? So there was that high expectation, and there was this discussion about mentoring the young people and all of that so that they can position themselves to take charge.
Right.
So essentially, throughout the country, there was that overriding sentiment and desire for change and for an entity that would be able to lead that change.
Right.
No, because at that stage, the NDC had lost Nazim Bok. Nazim Bok had resigned as the leader of the party.
Right.
And from that time, the party had been floundering somewhat.
Yeah.
Well, not somewhat. The party had been floundering greatly. And although you had people like Adrian Thomas and so trying to keep things afloat and doing the best that he could, the people were not really energized.
Yeah.
by NBC at that time. And people were looking, there was a lot of talk about the party at that time.
Yes.
So when the youth
TGM came
initiative
on.
yes, when the youth initiative come, people saw the youth as this was the answer. And then you had TGM and people said, yes, this was it. Okay? But then Deacon came.
Right.
And that changed everything.
Yeah.
And Brother John, I must confess that going into the NDC's party convention, as you mentioned earlier, I'm the chairman of the St. Cloud branch. Yeah?
Yes.
It's not that I am the chairman.
Right.
In fact, elections for the branch was due in April, but we did not go ahead with the branch election because of the pending national election.
Right.
And typically when you get into an election cycle and you go into campaign mode, the campaign strategic team takes charge of the operations of the constituency branch.
Right.
So the chairman of the branch may not necessarily be the campaign manager.
Right.
For strategic and other reasons. Yeah.
Right.
So you might find that the chairman might be heading a subcommittee or working with some other committee within the campaign structure and having different responsibilities. Yeah.
Okay.
So during this campaign, I was very much sort of out of the picture. Right? I was very much sort of out of the frame. You were not seeing me.
Right.
But I was part of the frame. So when you see a clip being circulated, that clip with the picture of Maurice Bishop and Gary at the beginning, and you hear that narrative speaking about how old they were when they became leaders in the country and stuff like that, and then you see that clip with Nazim Bok where he was speaking in Gaul about when the revolution came on, he being a young man and what was accomplished during that time, and so when you see that video. That is the work of Pablo.
That was you do.
When you see that,
let me say this one. Can I just jump in here because I want to say this. In this article, in this July article coming out, also, something had caught my eyes on social media. It was a Deacon factor, Deacon story, and I want to know. I left a note. Who wrote this? Yeah, I want to know.
I remember that.
I want to know who has written this because I thought it was well done. And then you come and say, I'm the one. Yeah. And I have to say, you keep surprising me all the time. Because for people who don't know, so that article is now, this article is now in the Genesis magazine for June. It's on, it should be up on the website already. All right. And so that one caught my eyes. The story about Deacon caught my eyes in that. And I don't want to be pay attention to it, but when I read it, I thought that was a sell. That was a big sell. I know Dennis read that, but that was a big sell for NDC. I don't know who read it, but that piece, that article they put out there was a big sell for Deacon. Big
well,
sell.
Actually, it was part of I had these pieces. In fact, I had done 3 pieces. This was the 3rd one.
Right.
And this one was headed the Deacon factor, right? The overriding heading was the Deacon story. So within the Deacon story, you had different elements to the Deacon story, and that Deacon factor was really speaking to the fact that, and you would have heard him say it in some of his presentations.
Yes.
And he said it the last time Deacon said, anything Deacon says, they do.
They do, yes.
You know?
Yes.
And actually it was Neil Ferguson. It was Neil Ferguson who had written a piece on that.
Right.
So I took it and I made that article out of it, because if you notice, it starts with a quotation, quote, "I had no choice than to simply have this post called Deacon said for obvious reasons," unquote. Neil Ferguson wrote on Facebook recently. Here's a synopsis of his 2-part face post Facebook post, because what he had done, it was a story that he had posted in 2 parts, right?
Right.
And so I did that piece, yes, because, and as I said, there are 3 pieces. The first one, the subheading of it was "In the Beginning." Okay?
Yes.
And in that one, and let me just share with you what it says to give the
Context.
perspective, and it takes us back to where I was before you inserted that piece into the conversation.
Okay.
And it says, "In the beginning, this time last year, NDC had difficulty making the news. But nowadays, NDC is the news."
Yes.
And attention for all and sundry. This all began after Deacon Mitchell became the leader of the National Democratic Congress on Sunday, October 31, 2021, just 7 months ago at the time when the article was written. His personality, presence, and narrative have been resonating with the vast majority of Grenadians here at home and in the diaspora. Although speaking to party faithfuls, his victory speech set the tone for his ongoing narrative of people coming together in the interest of country and holding politicians accountable for the handling of the people's business. Here's some of his first words, and I quote, "I believe for the first time in Grenada's modern history, this NDC convention has opened the eyes of every Grenadian to the importance of our democracy, to the importance of our political process. And so I expect that as part of that transformation, we will continue educating our population so that our citizens are aware that it is important to be a member of a political party, and it is important to offer yourself to sit in the House of Parliament. It is through that process we will be able to influence and enact the kind of policies we wish to see enacted in our trial and state. It is only through engagement and active participation that we will be able to control and hold our politicians accountable." Now, these were some of the first words of Deacon Mitchell when he became the political leader of the National Democratic Congress.
Yes.
And if you notice, this message has resonated right through his presentations. And even when he did his acceptance speech as Prime Minister recently, we can see that message being resonated right through.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And let me, as I'm here, let me just make that point. This part that where he says we need to continue educating our politicians so that our citizens are aware that it is important to be a member of a political party, and it is important to offer yourself to sit in the House of Parliament. Brother John, Brother Dennis, yesterday I was with some relatives of mine. And one of my nieces, she has a grown daughter. The daughter lives in St. George's. I was in Dwarf with them. And in fact, I'm still at that location. And she was on the phone with the daughter. And the daughter was asking certain questions about the Senate and the House of Parliament and, representation, because she wanted to get an idea that now NDC has 9 seats. What happens to some of the other people who were not successful, and how do you incorporate them into the management, into the government management structure? And she is somebody who has had tertiary level education. She's been to college, And so what it really brought to the fore is how little our young adults who have the diplomas and the bachelor's degrees and so, how little they know about the operations of government in the country, and how things are, and I had to explain certain things. I had to bring her back to the fact that what's her name? Franca Bonadine. She was the Minister of Education, but at that time she had not run as a politician. She had not been a minister. She had not been she had not been elected as a parliamentary representative.
Right.
So she had to be appointed as a senator, and then made a minister of government. And I had to walk her through these things, and it's going to be critical going forward. And I expect that is going to happen. That these elements are going to be added into our education system, into our education curriculum, so that young people can grow up and young people can be learning in school how government works, the different arms of government. And so, because we cannot continue to have our young professionals being so ignorant about the operations and the runnings and the functions of government in the country.
You said that today. Yesterday we talked about on the show last night about even the Constitution, what we have operating with, should be taught in the school system too. Giving some, but again, how many people know about the Constitution to teach it? So we need to have a feasibility study, figure out how many people know the Constitution, and probably get lawyers who knows about it to teach it, to have them come in and have sessions at the school, the teacher training session, and that be part of the training program to teach other people, to your students, about the Constitution. So they're better able to articulate themselves when it comes to studying the Constitution and how to better understand how government function. Because even a conversation I was having yesterday with a young lady, and the judge in one particular case did not even know what certain particulars in the Constitution. And when he revised it himself, he realized, oh, well, you guys are right. But he never, because that wasn't, some of the Constitution issues never come before the court to deal with. You see? So now he has to go back and realize, well, I got to make sure I study this thing, and that might come again the next time. And the more people are educated on these things, the better it is for the country. So we can make more informed decisions. And you're right. It has to be in part of the school curriculum. We have to do that. We can't continue the same old. Go ahead.
Well, Brother John, I've come in and I've met you and Dennis on the program, and I think I've said quite a bit. I don't want to hog the program. I'm certain that Brother Dennis would have an input to make at this juncture.
Yes. I was going to go to him too, because I know you said a lot, and one of the things that you said earlier on, and I wanted, before I go to Dennis, we have predicted and talked about numerous things that happened, the outcome of this election. A lot of these things that we have said from November up until last Tuesday night, Wednesday night, have been part of what we spoke about this election. And I must say to you,
go ahead.
Yeah, that the study that was done by Dr. Pierre has, and just before the election, I released it, he predicted, on the survey that he had done, the poll that he carried out, was given the 9 seat that was won exactly. That's where he predicted that would be NDCC. That would be
correct.
Brother John, I'm glad you allowed me that opportunity before you go to Dennis, because essentially that's one of the things I wanted to address early, because earlier on I was listening to you and Dennis, and that you all were dealing with that element of thing. I believe I heard Dennis say words to the effect that this is nothing short of a miracle, given the fact that that Deacon and the new executive only came on stream, at the beginning of November. And as you rightly said, you and we have been having ongoing conversations on these things. And you can testify to the fact that I have been saying to you, even when they talk about, well, even if we don't win, at least we will be a good opposition. I've been saying to you in no uncertain terms that NDC is going to form the government.
We said
remember
that.
I was telling you.
Yes. And I said the conversation. I remember I also said, in support of that, we have to change the conversation about opposition. We can't go in that. expecting to be our position. We must go into that expecting to be the government. That was our position.
Right? I had no other expectation. I had no other expectation, Brother John. Because as I said earlier on, the temperature, right? I'm here. I'm on the ground. I speak with people. You hear the people. You listen to the and you notice that all those so-called professional analysts out there
they didn't beat us.
Who been saying, oh, it's just 6 months, what people doing this time, they're too young, they too this, they too that. All of them got it wrong. All of them got it wrong.
You know, I'm not a statistician. I'm not a statistician, right, Pablo? We analyze things as we see it. And all those guys from Barbados and all those who predicting that wouldn't happen or whatever, we already called it in November. We already said what's going to happen. And then we repeatedly on the show, we had that discussion, we repeatedly saying that NDC would form the next government. And in a close call, we said 9 seats. 9 seats. And it came out to be what we said. I mean, what else could we have said that the truth? And we just what he said, just so it happened. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dennis was here last week Saturday, and there was pressure in him to give him. Tell me which 8 seats. Tell me your 8 seats. Tell me your 8.
I could have told him, but I didn't want him to, you know.
and that tonight, Wednesday night, speaks volume. Thursday night, because when the numbers are coming in, I'm sitting in the office and watching the numbers and say, yes, we get in it. Yes, it's going this way. No other option. I wasn't wavering. And I said this morning on this show that this is the only radio station of Grenadian content that is not afraid to pledge the support behind the NDC, including myself. You understand?
Absolutely.
I was not shying and saying, well, I don't take inside, I'm not NDC, I'm NDC. I say always on this radio station, John Cass is NDC. You know, like I always say, I'm a socialist. I don't feel to say that. You know what I mean? That's my position. And I think people could better know who you are when they know what position you hold, how to deal with you. When you waver and you're in the middle, people can trust you. You got to take a position. Stand up for something and die for nothing. That's my position. I always maintain that from day one. I always maintain a position and I stick to it. And you know, Pablo, I talk about B-Man already. I take my position and I took my position up until the end. I'm not wavering. And when I get into religion, into the church, the Bible have a code. The Bible says that if you put a deal with you with your heart and your code, you can't do that with lukewarm person. God can't trust nobody lukewarm. He wants you either you're against him or you're for him. You know how to deal with you. Once you're in the middle, it's difficult to deal with. You don't know when you're going to sway. And that's what the position is. You have to take a position and stick with it. Dennis.
Yes, well, I want to tell you, thank you, man. It's always good hearing Brother Pablo with a wealth of knowledge, not only the wealth of knowledge, but that this brother worked. I mean, and that has to say, I don't know, maybe cook up pot of oil on for him, man. Come on. Worked, you know, and even Cornwall. So I am so happy when I get back down to Grenada. I have to make my way through St. Patrick's and Victoria area there. Hopefully we could link up.
The Victoria bus, man. I can do what's I get on the Victoria bus.
Yeah, we're gonna get on the bus. We're going Victoria this time, you know what I'm saying? And the young lady, I think she's only 24 years old, that one with Dabrio. Oh my God, I heard that girl speak. I'm like, Jesus Lord.
I think NDC has well, and NDC never lacked leadership, and I mean, they do not lack leadership. The leadership, they could put anybody to hold the ship together until he come afloat, until he reach safe lands. I mean, Pablo make mention about the different people that was in positions when NDC was struggling, right? And it only shows that the party didn't fall apart because they had enough people at the leadership level that could rule that ship until this time is over.
Yes, behind the scenes there were, and then there was a groundswell. I mean, Grenada wanted change, right? We were just looking for the Moses to lead us to the promised land, right?
Yeah.
And once we found the Moses, it is easy for the people to follow. It was a hard, I don't care how much popcorn he brought down or whatever it is he brought to Grenada to jump up on him. He was not going to win the election. If he had held the election sometime last year, it's a different program. And if he had held it after Carnival, let's say September and all of that, he might lose his seat too, right? Because he doesn't have an agenda. He doesn't have a plan. In fact, he said if he go back there, he ain't changing nothing. The same old, same old. I mean, in this day and age, which politician would go on a stage and talk about, I'm going to do the same thing that I have been doing for all along?
I mean, the Prime Minister has been making some really, really awful statements.
Yeah, those were.
I think what he said too, when you see him call him Susu, I mean, that was so belittling that to himself. That didn't have this had no bearing. That turned out to be a positive for, and this is a very clever young man. He used that against it and stimulate the base, the NDC base. So it's like saying, show me to the wolf and I'll come back leading the pack. And that's what exactly happened with Deacon. You throw him to the wolf, he come back leading the pack and he win.
Yes. Well, here what? When you go back to how he treated Tilly, right? Tillman Thomas, and he talk about how don't see easy can run a smoking shop and all those kind of stuff. It's not the kid has been operating in the mud.
Cheap politics.
Yes, and then Nazim with how many houses he built, 5 mansion and he lower VAT, so he had to pay tax on building materials he took to construct some big building, and he's a multi. I mean, those things, they are not necessary to invent stuff, and because they don't respond, it's stuck. It's stuck on us because a lot of people believe that NAS deliberately reduced the tariff and built a whole mile of houses, living a big short life, right? And then after that, when he finished, jack it back up on the ordinary man and woman, you know? And Kit played that line game, I mean, and he's just not gonna stop. But if you let him continue with it, you don't punch back. That is he gets you. Once he get punched back, then he realizes, oh my God, don't go there. So I've been on the program, on a lot of different programs. It's not today, years now, from Judge Grant to everybody, Junior Judge, everybody, Gemfm, and the other programs where I'm on Facebook. To this day, he hasn't come out and say one thing yet against any claim that I made and all of that, because he know, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
you have to watch who you throw a punch at, because that person might punch back.
Yeah, I think Keith has made himself irrelevant in this last election in a big way.
The end of the NNP.
And he will be 78 by the time the next election call. So that's a goner. They have to look for new leadership, and they have to dig real deep to get that. Yeah, I mean, although they're saying that the survey shows that the most popular person that they would like to use as a new leader is Peter David. That too that's only people wanting that, but that doesn't mean that the leadership within the organization will let it happen. All right. And if Peter is not chosen as the leader of the NNP, that's the end of NNP. It's done.
I don't see the NNP surviving, because let me tell you something. Emmeline Pear come out talking some nonsense already. We have an issue with Clarice Modeste on that side over there, St. Mark's. She been there a long time too. Well, of course, we know Gregory Bowen is out of it, and that was Keith's right-hand man. I mean, he's the man that held up the NNP, pretty much. He's gone. So I don't see no structure for them. I really don't see it. I don't see it at all. For them to be a viable, they're gonna splinter, they're gonna fall apart. And let's say, I predict we would have 2 by-elections before the year is over. I don't believe, even Keith, I don't believe he would go in Parliament and defend some hard questioning, because I know they're gonna put him to the test. He has to account for a lot of stuff, right, that went wrong. I don't see him with his ego.
But I think the NDC focus should be on setting up the government, a cabinet, a strong cabinet on the manifesto and the promises that were made during the election, tackling the pension thing as fast as possible within the first 100 days. See, even though they can't build all, but at least start it, set up, and let it happen. The second thing is the healthcare. Try to address as much, even though you rebuild those fallen apart ones. Show some signs of work being done and get it done. Start doing this stuff. Because the little thing that the time system is immediately announce the free education. You say that will be done, do it right away. So in the 100 days, the free education, the pension payment, and the healthcare should be focused, right? That's easy thing in my view to handle, to talk about, right? I want to ask Rafael, Pablo, coming from your end, what I've been asking these questions because based on this survey, did you get a copy of the survey? I sent to you.
I can't say for certain that.
Okay, I'll try saying back for you later on tonight. However, it's still relevant. It's still important because some of the things that was predicted and why people vote the NDC is the top 20 reasons why they would vote the NDC is in that thing. One was the pension. Number one was the pension. The biggest percentage of voters wanted the pension taken care of. From where you're looking at, from the window you're viewing the future of NDC, what would you suggest, if you have to give a suggestion, hypothetically speaking, to the NDC, what would you advise them as the line of march to bring the people together, keep them together in the next 2 years? What do you think the direction they should take?
Well, NDC this new government has to be working on a variety of fronts. Okay, and I believe Deacon did speak to these issues extensively, really, because no other in our recent political environment, no other political leader has exposed themselves to the public in the way that Deacon has done.
Right.
To be quizzed by the public. No other leader has put themselves out there and say, ask me anything.
Yes.
And I'll give you a sensible answer. And he has given sensible answers to every question that he has been asked.
Yeah.
There is not one response that Deacon has given over these past few weeks on any issue that has been put to him that did not make sense, that did not have a sense of logic, okay? And so to it, that or any response that he could give that one could dismiss offhand and say he's not talking sense, he's not making sense.
Right.
There isn't any one response that one can point to. Okay? So based on that, and based on Deacon Mitchell's track record as a person, as a professional, his successes and what he's been involved in and what he's done prior to offering himself in this political arena to serve the country, I'm expecting Deacon to bring the same level and quality of professionalism to the handling and to the management of the people's business.
Amen to that.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, that's one. Two, Deacon has said consistently, we need to hold public officials accountable.
Yes.
And I want you to hold me accountable. That too. Deacon has also given the commitment to have parliamentary representatives continue the process of town hall meetings that have been started, which will provide the opportunity for us to continue having the kind of discussions that have been initiated with those town hall meetings. And while I'm on this, let me just say something about the town hall meetings. I had to put in something.
Okay.
Right? let me just beat St. Mark's chest for like a while.
All right.
Yeah. Yes. You know, the rural community set the tone.
Right.
Okay. And that's why on Facebook presently, those of you on Facebook, if you go on the St. Mark page, you are going to see a piece that was put out there by one of the group participants, which says "Go NDC Go." All right. That's the heading of it. And it says, the silence was deafening throughout the afternoon and into the evening of the 2022 general election. This was very much unlike the same period on March 13, 2018, when NNP won all 15 seats and was already celebrating just after midday.
Right.
However, it was definitely not surprising to those involved in NDC's general election machinery, because they knew what the numbers were. Additionally, the NNP's candidate for St. Mark was demonstrating strengths of serious no. Additionally, the NNP's candidate for St. Mark was demonstrating signs of serious distress. Based on the results from that constituency, it is quite surprising. It is not surprising. Prince Britain of the NDC received 995 votes to Paris Modest Cohen's 1,471.
Wow.
The NDC's 2015 candidate, Jerome Thomas, had received 654 votes to his opponent's 1,631. 968 persons did not vote in that election.
Right, right.
The total of NDC's votes and non-voters in 2018 is 1,622. 9 votes less than what was received by the NDC candidate. So even if every one of the non-voters voted for NDC in the 2018 election in St. Mark, Paris Modest Cohen would still have won her seat in that election.
Right.
Queen's Britain definitely scared her to the core with his 995 votes to her 1,471.
Yeah.
A loss of 476 votes.
Yeah.
Unlike his predecessor's loss of 977 votes. NNP received 160 votes less this time around than they did in 2018. That's in St. Mark. On the other hand, Queen's Britain had an increase of 341 votes over his 2018 compatriot, an increase of 52.14%. People had begun to sit up, and that's the point I really want to make to you. People had begun to sit up and take notice of St. Mark since that constituency's NDC branch had organized a town hall session in July 2021 at the Bonnet Government School under the theme, a development agenda for the rural communities, a poverty remedy. That visibility was enhanced significantly by another town hall event in February 2022 at the same venue. The theme that time was a partnership of the people and the politician. And I shared the 2 links of these 2 events all day on social media so people can have access to them. Evidently, this St. Mark initiative provided the impetus to the series of town hall sessions conducted by the NDC party leader, now Prime Minister, and many other candidates throughout the election campaign. Let me close it with, The total number of people who voted in St. Mark this election is 2,466. Had Queen's Britain received 240 more votes from that lot, he would have won the seat.
Right.
So the evidence is now clear that while the silence during the afternoon on election day 2022 was so deafening, is because NDC had won the election with 9 seats to NNP 6.
Yes.
Deacon Mitchell is now the Prime Minister of Pitimatnik, Carriacou, and Grenada. Let us all move forward with the Deacon Mitchell-led National Democratic Congress administration. And Brother John,
yes, sir.
I put you through this really to make the point of the town hall meetings and its significance to the campaign.
Right.
I expect that is going to continue. And it is going to provide the opportunity for the people of the communities, for the professionals and the others.
Yes.
Know that veil, that yoke has been lifted and people feel much freer to speak. I'm expecting that you will be seeing more people who have something to contribute coming out to participate in these discussions.
Yes.
So we can have the best agenda going forward. So we can have a development agenda that is sustainable. So I expect that to continue. The other thing I expect to continue, Deacon Mitchell in his presentations, he's given certain commitments and put some timelines to certain things. For example, he said that within the first 90 days or so, he is going to have a synopsis done as to the people who are entitled to be paid, their pensions and whatever. He's going to have that done. So you know how much money it is and who has to do what. So he can initiate the process to raise the money to make sure that these people are paid.
Yes.
And he has given a commitment that even if he has to take a loan to pay it, he's going to do so.
Yes.
Now, that has been derailed by the Prime Minister, but Deacon has also said that once that money is paid, he's going to put back significant sums into the economy of the country.
Exactly.
So he's going to create, and he brought to mind, when he said that, he brought to mind, and if you go listen to Sir Hilary Beckles, Dr. Hilary Beckles, you would hear him speak about when emancipation came, and the plantation owners were given the reparations money.
Yes.
Yes. A loan was taken by the British government
to pay him,
to pay that money.
Yeah.
And these people, because they were compensating them for loss of property, which was us.
Human factors,
right?
Human resources.
Yes.
And
right.
May I plug in there?
So they went now, and the money that was paid to them was invested back into the economy of Britain.
Exactly.
And brought about significant economic growth to the country. Deacon is saying that the same thing can happen when you put out that lump sum of money there to the pensioners.
Yes.
That significant sums of it. They ain't go just put it in a bank account and they go sit down there.
No, they will spend it.
Right? They're going to spend it. And out of that, governments get significant revenues. And so, all right? So that in itself is going to provide some buoyancy to the economy. Deacon has already said that one of the things that's going to be paramount is the replanting of our spices. To do that, people will, apart from there's going to be maybe a voluntary component to it, but you cannot do such a great project without employing significant numbers of people. It means that we are propagating resources and facilities will have to be upgraded if we are going to be going on that kind of initiative. That means employing people, right? It means that we will have to be providing farm labor support to our farmers. That means employing people. You know?
Yes.
So
yes.
In a short time, so I am anticipating that within 2 years, you are going to see things happening that is going to begin to demonstrate that Deacon is a man of his word, and that these are practical things that are that's generating income in the communities and in the country, and providing job opportunities for people. And I feel very confident about these things happening. I expect that within that now, he will be seeking to, because he did speak about the 2008 to 2013 NDC administration and the arrangement they had for the building of that teaching hospital and all of that.
Yes.
And he has given a commitment to revisit that. Right. So I'm expecting him to, while he's doing all of this thing, to be looking into how the healthcare really goes. And so the polyclinic in St. John was open recently. But, well, it was not open. There was the official launch, the official handing over ceremony. It was a ceremonial thing. Right. It was not the opening, because we saw a report just days afterwards on Facebook that there was an accident somewhere in the community after one of those campaign events. And they rushed up there, and there was no service available up there. We had to. We
no dressing for the political.
It was just a political thing, and you know the most salient. You know the most salient thing that came out of that was reported. I mean, I'm talking about among the people. You know, the most salient conversation coming out of that opening was that two of the concubines of the then parliamentary representative for the constituency had a fight and threw bottles at each other and all that kind of thing. You understand? And even this morning, one of them was doing a live. I don't know if it's still up on social media, and talking about why she and the girl fight, and that the girl was taking away drinks from people and being disrespectful. And then she saw she and Mr. Dabrio speaking. And you know, Mr. Dabrio is not the kind of person, he's a quiet person, and he ain't go say anything. And the girl come and inserted herself in the middle of two of them, and so on. And I mean, it's so scandalous. And we have had these scandals surrounding that parliamentary representative since we were going into the 2013 elections. But people voted him in. And they came back and they voted him in again in 2018. So when these people are conducting themselves like that as our public officials, our elected public officials, who's supposed to be our role models and all of that, you know, and they're conducting themselves like that, and people keep putting them back, they begin to take the people for granted. So they feel they don't have to carry out standards, they don't have to do nothing. They just, because all they have to do is come around elections and they just throw some money at them, they wind them up, they fed them up, and so, and that will do it. And that is the reason why you find that NNP's campaign has never had any substance to it. It's just about one and jam, it's just about entertainment, it's just about that. And the issues.
Yes. And you know, and somebody just make
issues, Brother John, the issues that are supposed to be discussed
have not been
when
discussed.
We are having an election campaign, right? Because as a friend of mine once said to me, he said, politics is show business.
Yeah.
And I said, well, no,
I remember somebody saying that.
Yes.
Coming on the show and said, yes.
Politics is show business. Yes. Or politics is show business, because politics is a discussion about choosing.
I think it was Hudson George who made that. I think it was Hudson George who made that statement. If I remember my memory serves me right.
Somebody made that comment to me in private.
Yeah, but I remember Hudson George made that statement on the show here too.
And that's the thing. We focus, they get us focused on the wrong things during the election campaign. And then when when it comes to government, the issues that we were supposed to address and discuss were not discussed. So then we get anything, we have to settle for whatever we get. But Deacon Mitchell set the narrative. And that's the reason why NDC controlled the narrative throughout this entire election, and NNP have not been able to deal with it. because they had to address the substance of what the people want in this country.
Exactly. I want to go to something. Someone is just spice, nutmeg, spice, nutmeg, clove. Make three statements here, and I want Dennis to answer the first one. Because the second one, Dennis was name was mentioned, so Dennis had to answer that one. Yes, pick a side. Stop playing in the middle of the road, jumping from one lane to the other. That was, and I think addressing to Dennis. It says here, Dennis, the NDC movement didn't start in October, November. Kem Jones was helping to build the NDC base for years. People like us have been opposing him for years. You could walk and you can't walk and chew. What? You could walk and chew gum. Look, I think you want to say you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. How would you respond to that, Dennis, and probably Pablo after with the question of Kem was trying to build an NDC base?
She's 100% correct, and she's my good buddy, right hand man. Or let's say right hand woman. I know her personally who she is, and she's 100% correct. Yes, the NDC was Kem Jones was the main, if I should say, behind the scenes driver for the NDC. And I remember very well, I met him in Carlton Junction when they had a big rally up there by Grand Bar. You know what I'm saying? And we shake hands and all of that, no problem. All right, both of us were doing the same thing. But I remember when the NDC fell apart and a couple high-ranking NDC officials, they were asking me if I want to get involved and jump in and so forth. But that happened after Mr. Prudhomme had contacted me to help revamp the GOLP. So I'm like, I can't be everywhere at the same time. If I give one person my commitment, I said yes to him. So then I went home. I spent 2 months. I was all over the radio station, campaigning and doing all of that and so forth, because I'm a man of my word. I realized that was a mistake. He was just using me. And I believed in him, not knowing him personally. I had no idea. I never met him before, but I thought he was genuine. I don't think he got 2 votes anyways, but I thought I got 1 vote. I thought he was a principled person, and I gave him a shot. So I just left here and I went over 2 months, spending my own money and all of that stuff. And it turned out to be a fraud. And I resigned. And I said, oh my God, I came back, I told my wife I made a big mistake. So I'm going back to where I came from. I was always an NDC, right? So yes, Kem Jones was consistently there through the thick and the thin, you know, holding it up. And at Posueda, as you said, we had different, people coming in and going. There was a guy somewhere in Montrose with his chicken farm. A lot of names were Telesford. A lot of names were mentioned here, there, and everywhere. At one time, I sent a message to Robinson, Randall. I'm like, oh my God, people know you already. I mean, would you let the party just go down to the dirt like that, and nobody want to raise their head if Franca doesn't,
Let me ask you a question. I'm kind of questioning that notion that Kem was helping to build the NCBs. Pablo, what's your take on that? Pablo?
Probably mute.
Paul? I think he should be there. Let me see. Oh, I think he get cut off or probably disappear. No, say, yeah, Pablo's still here. Pablo Paul. Hello.
All right. Well, let me answer it. I could tell you yes, because at one point, Kem wasn't accommodating me, to come in and talk my little ideas about revamping the GOLP. I went on Blossom Show, GBN. I went on, I think, WeFM. I went on a bunch of radio stations. They gave me an hour to speak. Everything was good. And, but Kem wasn't going there at all, period. He said, Grenada is small. It's going to be a 2-party operation. and he held on to the. So I could tell you from my own personal point of view, we have to give credit to Kim for really standing there when we had darkness within the ranks of the NDC. So anybody see otherwise? No. Whether you like it or not, or like him or not, you have to give credit to Kim Jones. So yes, he was there, but I was talking about the structure as far as those who would run. Franca melted. Then they wanted Tillman to come back. His family didn't think he should get back in front line. Maybe he would support from behind. Nas, then they were trying to get Nas to drag him in. I don't think Nas was really excited about getting back again from what he'd been through. So we had no Moses.
Right.
Long before we got Deacon. So when I said, yes, Deacon, you know, October, November of last year, that is when we really had a rebirth.
Right.
Generation. That was what I'm talking about. But she's correct from her perspective.
Hello.
Yes, he was always there.
From Pablo. Pablo, are you there? He's still there. And yeah. What are your views on the notion that Kim Jones was instrumental in keeping the NDC base together?
Well, I wouldn't put it that way that Kim Jones was instrumental in
helping build the NDC base for years.
Yeah. Kim Jones, what Kim Jones has been doing has contributed and has helped the NDT in various ways. Okay. While all of that was going on, the leadership of the NDC was making efforts to reach out to different people because it was an accepted fact that there was need to bring in new blood. So they were working themselves. So people who have reached out to me and said congratulations and so, I've basically said to them that it was an all-round team effort. And it was not necessarily an NDC team effort in terms of something that was initiated by the party and driven by the party, solely driven by the party. What you had was work taking place at the core of the party and its periphery. And then surrounding all of that, you had those independent supporters of the party, like the Ashida Charles, and the Kim Jones, and the Raphael Halls, and so, and the Ali Maturas, and the Sawandi Sams, and so out there advocating on behalf of the party. And the party would have benefited from all of that. In addition to that, you had people who may not necessarily have supported NDC, like the All Maitlands and the Cassandra Mitchells and so, but who were advocating things that were showing up the shortcomings of the administration. So when people had to make a decision as to who to choose between the NNP and the NDC, because it came down to the fact that these were the two that you had, the two choices that you had. So when people had to make a choice, NDC would have benefited from all of the advocacy and all of the information that would have been put out there, that would have been shared with them by the people like the Kim Jones and the Earl Maitlands and so on. You know? So generally speaking, you had people who may not necessarily have been part of an NDC official agenda, but who, because of the advocacy and the opposition to the party, would have contributed unofficially to the successful outcome of the NDC in the election.
Right. I mean, and it's true. Kim Jones have been very vocal. I listened to him a lot of times. We have been vocal about a lot of issues here on Gemfm as well. We probably would not be able to galvanize amount of attention, but our substance of what we did here, bringing in the candidates, the leadership on Gemfm here to have a one-on-one conversation with them, from Paul Streeter to Uncle Tilly on the shows on many different occasions. We've had Patrick Antoine from TGM on Gemfm as well. You know, so we had brought them in here. We had Claudette, yes. We had a number of persons that was directly involved in the party that we brought in here, questioned them.
We had people from Labour.
Yeah, from Labour movement. Teacher Jude was here, and the other lady from the Technical Workers Union.
Don't forget George Grant, you know. I know he died before, but don't forget George Grant. That man had been a stalwart, you know, in terms of opposing Kit and the NNP. Don't forget him. We had to give him something too.
A number of us have done what we had to do, you know. So it's not just one person, and I don't think that person will make it Ken. I mean, Spice Nutmeg is making it as Ken alone. He had contributed, and every one of us who must be recognized for his contribution.
Oh yeah, he has to be recognized because a lot of the exposes, all right, like the Cellgate issue and so on, all over them, and right, because what happened is because Kem Jones, because one, a lot of people, because of the threatening situation, were not willing to come out there and say things.
Right.
So those people who were coming, who were already out there speaking, information was being channeled to them.
Yes.
You had Kem Jones. He was running Monday to Friday.
Yes.
Kem Jones would be on the radio twice a day.
Twice a day.
Right?
Yes.
Twice a day. Right? And he would be advocating on issues and so on.
Yes.
And then he would be there again on Sunday.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So and as I said, a lot of the issues, a lot of the information he was able to bring out from within the government, within the ministries and so, is because people who felt that the nation should know about these things, they were able to channel it through him, and he was able to speak to these things.
Yes, yes.
You know, as I said, it was an all-round effort.
Yeah, because information he got from other people too who leak information to him. Their contribution has to be recognized as well. Yeah, without them, he would not have this information. You know? Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
It was an all-round effort.
Ms. Nivea Newman had done tremendous amount of work. You can't forget that she has scored some points on that issue. And you know, one thing that people might remember her for her portrayal of the jab thing, but remember she had made a big sacrifice to give up her job. That's a job, and that was victimization. You give somebody ultimatum, and she chose to go hungry in my local parlance than to submit herself to this pressure. Yeah, and she did it. I mean, people make accusation that she was paid by foreign greater nationals abroad and stuff like that. Well, somebody make that sacrifice like that to give up their job, to continue attacking and talking government freely. That was, to me, was something that I would have seen myself doing in my heydays. You know what I mean? I wasn't afraid to do that. So she had made a sacrifice. I know many great would do that, give up their job, and I mean, get fired for taking a position. You know, either you're in here or you're out there doing that. And she make the choice to go out there. It's like some people taking the vaccine and some people not taking it because they have other commitment. You know, I rather take the vaccine and have things to do. And somebody says, see me, I don't care what I have. I'm not going to take this vaccine. Sink or float, you know, and that with her, I'm not gonna risk the future of Grenada and not talk about the issues and keep my job, because Grenada is bigger than me. The job, what I have to do for Grenada is bigger than the job I have. You know, and she made that position. So I think she also had made a significant.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Well, John, I want to just jump in here because I see my battery going down in red. So if it cut off, right? But anyhow, you made a very important point, and with respect to the first, I don't know, 3 months or whatever with Dr. Mitchell's administration, the NDC. What is important, number one, is short-term intervention. Some of the things that need to change critically fast right now, as in yesterday, right? And then you would have some long-term plans that would take years and all of that. We know we can't fix everything overnight. So we have some long-term plans that we're going to put on the side. We're going to work on it, but they're not going to bring fruits right now. But also some of the corrections, things that we got to do right now to put Grenada on a steady path, the way forward, right? What I think is the most difficult to come, it's going to be a real long-term project because you're dealing with human mentality, the mindset change, the dependency syndrome. To energize people to fend for yourselves, we're going to empower you. We're not going to give you a sprat every day, but we're going to teach you to fish. You feed yourself. You understand? That is a long-term project where people are sitting back and they depend on a politician to come and give them $40, a bottle of Woodman, and a little something.
I think that with Declan's promise to continue with the town hall meeting, we'll deal with that in a big way, because then you will have people, you won't have this, when I want to see the minister, it's going to be happening. So that in my view is a very good step to maintain. Keep walking that line of meeting with the people. It worked well during the PRG time. I think it worked well again this time around. Because that had held the people together so much so that they will increase the productivity in that time.
Those in the constituency outside, so we don't depend on Deacon to do everything, right? The representative and all of that, the candidates and so forth. Continue engaging the constituency, right? Meet and greet, little town hall with the people, sit and chat with them wherever it is. They play soccer or cricket or whatever, constantly, right? So you know what they want, what bothers them, the shortcomings, like in Tivoli, Conference, La Poterie, the health situation is bad. We need a daycare. La Poterie is a very big place. There is not a daycare anywhere around, right? We need that, and other issues too. So if we continue to do that, trust me, the NNP is finished. They're not coming back anytime. That's done.
I think the NDC has to focus on constituency-wise. Every representative has to see what is best for the constituency and get it done.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So transformative change, a mindset rearrangement, is better to use that word than to say re-education, because you're going back into Soviet propaganda thing, you know, where they had to drag people in concentration camp and call it that. We're gonna just say, you know,
that is US propaganda. Okay,
yeah, it's true, but propaganda sticks sometimes, you know.
America have dragged more people into submission than any other nation in the world. So, I mean, just to step away from what we're talking here, they went to Iraq on a false intent. They went to Gaddafi, kill the family, kill Kalamani family on a false intent, and the world stand up and laugh and play. It never happened. And now look at what the Soviet Union gone into Ukraine, which is their territory, right in their backyard, for good reasons. And you want to call it for war crimes when you yourself commit more war crimes in the world than any nation. You know?
Well, the way I look at it, I mean, I'm optimistic. I am so happy. Trust me, John, I wanted to call you. I know I sent you something and I post some things on Gemfm.
That's all.
Yes, I
do this.
A new beginning for me, for Grenada, man. I stayed on my bed. All night I'm calling my brother. I couldn't get him. I'm calling my brother. All the time he was in Las Vegas. So they had a big fete, they had job, they had all of that. I wake up in the morning like about 5. I want to talk to somebody. I can't get him. I call my mother. She said, oh God, Dennis, they already play job. I say, who? Man, they play job and music, man, you know, till the whole village. They go down La Poterie, they go conference, the kids going crazy. I have never seen something like that, and the whole country, including Carrico and Pitty too.
There's a brother who wrote a book a couple of years ago, Francis Bain. If you remember, he's teaching SARS school. He wrote a book pre-1979, after 1979, called the bullet or the bullets, right? He was referring to the Gary government have to go one way or the other. And Francis Bain, his name, he was a Vietnam vet too. He came back well, marched up as well. He's a teacher at school. Francis Bain. He still lived right in Paradise, right by my grandparents, by the Walkers. Just after that, the Walkers on the right-hand side. There, he still lived. Yeah. He came back, he wrote this book by the bullet about the bullet. And that was a big seller in Grenada during the Revolution time. Because he was saying, when he came back to Grenada, what was happening in Grenada wasn't the nicest place to be under Gary. And the same circumstances, the same situation was playing off again under Kit Mitchell. And it was a situation where the bullet at the bullet, and this time we use the bullet. So the bullet is a new revolution with ideas and vision and dreams, you know, and this is a new revolution. This is a continuation of a revolution. And I'm looking forward to see greater things, bigger things happening at a faster pace. It will happen, but you have to have patience. Yes? This is a technological age. Can you imagine what they did, the PRG did, without computers, without the access, with typewriters, just using typewriters and stencil machines, you know, to get the word across and go to cable and wires to fax something away to get it done quick. No, you could just write on your cell phone. You could put something together yourself and fax it off and mail it off right there and then to a group, to pull a group chat together on your phone. So the technology now, if you had that technology, even what they did in 4 years, you can be twice as much with it you have now. So again, I think that this new government would literally, right, surpass the PRG in production of what they have done. And given the time now, I think that they will do much better. And I'm expecting better. And I'm expecting one of the things that caution I have for the followers of the NDC is to work together. No, it's not the time to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism or to be engaged in the luxury of cooling off. This is not the time. Now is the time for you, the supporters, to get yourself involved. Ask, how can I be of service? Sometimes I have to volunteer yourself. I remember people used to work the PRG time, to do their job in the day and go and volunteer in some other area of work in the PRG time to make sure that what they want to achieve is done. So this had to be another sacrifice on behalf of the people this time again.
You said it correctly. There's a saying, ask not what you can do for me, but ask what I can do for my country. In other words, become the change you seek. Yes. Be part of the process. And I mean, I had my neck on the line. Everybody know me. I mean, I've been against Kit for God knows how many years. Long before Kem became popular and Ashida came around and all of that. Yeah. And I paid for it too. I wouldn't get into that right now. Right. But I am so excited and so happy for Deacon and the young leaders that we have. I feel confident that they would take Grenada, you know, the right way and make it fair for all. Give everyone opportunity. As I said before, when we bleed, we don't bleed yellow. We don't bleed green. When we bleed, all of us, we bleed red. We are Grenadians together. So we can have a better day, a brighter future for every one of us. But let us build an economy. And for those of you who have a little finance, a little job security, or maybe you know, a lot of us, you know, reaching the point where we could retire and all of that, we have a little something up here. Open a bank account back home, right? Contribute to the credit union in Riverside or Grenville or wherever it is. I can't tell you what to do, or the cooperative bank, or the co-op bank actually, and send funds back home, because that would go around to giving somebody else a loan to start up a business, to expand something. So don't keep, if you want to build Grenada, don't keep all your money in America or Canada, right? And also your children, get a Grenada passport, become part of the change you seek, right? So you have funds here, fine, but also open an account back home. Send 50,000 or 60,000 to the Riverside Cooperative. You understand, the credit union, and they could take that money and loan somebody to start a business or do something, build a house, right? Whatever it is. the money will circulate in the economy. So we have a lot of thinking to do. I'm going to do a financial, well, you know, that's where I come from, part of it. And that would focus on returning nationals. We have 230 to 240,000 Grenadians abroad. And we go to school. We are from construction to roofing to everything. You know, we do radiology, we are RNs, a lot of nursing, a lot of from Grenada and all of that. We own buildings in Brooklyn, brownstones and all of that. We have equity, we have assets. So all you need, forget getting a foreigner that you give 20-year tax holiday. They're bringing in things to sell. They don't pay tax. And when they make their profit, they ship it back where they came from. So we're getting pride in our own oil by being stupid, naive, and dumb. That is not a good economic policy. And that is what the NNP had depended on. That is garbage. So when it comes to finance and good, sound economic policies, I could throw in my little 2 cents. Right. But I like agriculture, as I told you already. I came from the country. I go home and I feel good when I'm below a mango tree. Okay, you can take that from me. When it's agriculture, call me, right? And I'll make my little contribution in that area. But to move and get the necessary funding for some of the projects that they can want to do, you want to float a bond, get Grenadians involved in, you know, and whatever interest you want to give them, take out a corporate bond and let us buy the bonds. You have a lot of us abroad, and that money would be used for capital projects in Grenada and stuff like that. So that portion, I'm going to address maybe one night on your show, some things we can do. But if they call me and they ask me, fine, I'm ready, right? But we have to get the necessary funds in Grenada. We need people to transfer some of the assets and the wealth back home. And that money can be used to make small loans for development. So if you love your country, you love Grenada, don't leave all your money in America. Put something back home too, right? Don't talk the talk, but you gotta walk too. Okay. So John, I'm gonna die right now.
Yes. All right.
Again, I'm coming back, and it's a pleasure, my brother Pablo. When I come down home, which is gonna be pretty soon, I'm gonna meet you. We're gonna move Grenada forward. All of us together. We bleed red. Forget yellow, forget green.
Yes.
All
the way. All right, Dennis, thank you very much for being here tonight. Pablo, again, any closing remarks from Pablo?
Okay, Brother Johnny, just a couple of things.
Yes, sir.
Because you all did share quite a bit there. The Holy See, let me start with the Holy See of the diaspora. Diaspora. Well, you know that is something we had conversations about.
Yes,
Gemfm.
Yes.
And you know that is something that the comfort zone champion significantly. Now that we are at this juncture, I'm expecting from a government standpoint, because the previous NDC administration had done quite a bit of work getting this diaspora element of things more organized and more focused. And so as regards its potential and its capabilities and being involved in the actual development process of the country. So now we have an opportunity to return to that.
Yes.
And I'm expecting a more coordinated and more cohesive approach towards making that a reality. And I think that can help significantly in that going forward, we will have to identify some specific projects within the rural community that can be readily gotten into, and you know, where you need a little some startup capital of $100,000 of $100,000 or less, that will bring people together, that will organize cooperatives, and so and will provide the opportunity for you know, people to be employed, and so you have an operation that runs and employs its members and be able to actually extend employment to other people and also to help to start increasing our productive capacity.
Yes.
Because as you very well know, Deacon has given that commitment, and there's been ongoing talk about this thing, because we look at the Gulf Fishermen's Cooperative and the potential that they have presently, and we saw what had happened in Gulf when the fishermen felt the fishermen cooperative were not being treated fairly, and were not being given the opportunity, and their fish was there just sitting in the cold room, and they can't get sale for it, the market for it. Well, the market was there. It was government. It was government that was the handicap. And the fishermen took matters into their own hands. They staged a protest, they blocked the road, and by the end of the day, government relieved the restriction that they had placed. And fish started to, it was the government that was the handicap. The government was the handicap to the shipping of the fish. And they removed it, and now the cooperative is able to do the shipping. So I'm expecting significant work to be done in that area. I want to say a couple of things. Though,
go ahead.
Right? On the Ken Jones effort, we have to commend these people and the role that they have played, because we know that the vast majority of Grenadians were afraid to challenge on anything, were afraid to say that the government is wrong, and everything, many of the things that people wanted to get out there were channeled through these people. So they have to be commended. They have played a significant role in getting us to this point and bringing about this victory and creating the opportunity that we now have in our hand. The whole issue of volunteerism. Interestingly, on the night after the election results came out, there's a guy that I know in St. John here. He's a very resourceful person. He's a mechanic, he's a builder, he's a all-rounder, he's good at everything that he does. And he said that he's going and sign up as soon as things settle down. He's going and sign up to volunteer his support and his involvement and so in any field, in any area where his skill set and so is needed, he's going to volunteer. When the time comes that he can get paid work and that paid work is available, he'll settle for it. But he's going to volunteer his time.
That is true. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that is key.
Yes. Yes, you find people with that kind of sentiment present, and that is going to be a factor going forward. The other thing too, as I said, we have to get these small projects going, and the focus of the administration is you have people already involved doing little cottage production in many of these areas. So it's a matter of either pulling them together or creating the opportunity to do these things on a greater scale, because the government will be seeking to provide and to find the market, to give assistance in the marketing and so that we can be exporting in bigger quotas and so, and bringing in more foreign exchange into the country and extending the opportunities for employment in these fields. Okay. Finally, Brother John.
Yes, sir.
Brother Dennis.
Dennis have left the building.
Our political opponents are not in a good place right now. You have to consider the fact that there's 9 people who's lost their seat that definitely will not be running in the next general election.
Right.
Dr. Mitchell has already indicated he's giving up the leadership. If he does do so, and it's very likely he may not even run again, so that's number 10. Okay? So essentially, NNP will have to be finding a new team for the next election.
Yes.
NNP will have to be finding a new leader for the next election.
Exactly.
So NNP right now essentially will be starting from scratch. That issue, that leadership issue, is not going to be settled very easily from my vantage point.
No.
Because as you very well know, Kennedy Football has been on Andre Donald's program saying that they have 2 NNPs, Kit Mitchell NNP and Peter David NNP.
Yes.
So these two NNP groups now are going to be at each other's throats.
But Pablo,
the leadership of the
Pablo, we have spoken about that here on the show as well. That NNP has its own issues that are not coming to light. Yes. And we know it's there.
All of these are going to come to the fore right now that the leadership is actually upon them.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of people have been focusing very much so about infighting within NDC. Right? And people have been using that up to this point in time to say, well, I hope they could work together and I hope they last. And remember, listen, NDC right now is in a different place to where NDC 2008 was.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Because the construct of the 2008 NDC is different from the construct of this 2022 NDC.
Yes.
The construct is different. You have a different construct.
Totally different.
Okay. And the agendas of those involved in the leadership of the NDC back in 2008 was different from the agendas of those involved in the NDC right now in 2022.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
So the outcome definitely is going to be different. And as I said, our opponents, they are not in a good place.
No.
I'm expecting that next time around, NDC is going to win by bigger margins in those constituencies that they won, and they are going to take on other constituencies, right? They are going to be winning other constituencies that they've lost this time around.
Yeah, they will.
I have very great confidence in the leadership and the perspectives and the plan and the projections of the Prime Minister of this country.
Right.
When you look at his personal life and what he has accomplished and the way in which he has done things, the way in which he has functioned, once he brings that to bear on the governance of the country, everything is going to work in the interest of the people of Grenada, in the interest of the people, to say it as our Prime Minister says it, in the interest of the people of Petit Martinique, Caribou, and Grenada. Yes. I have that confidence, and I am also confident that if he has to take whatever decision that may be a challenge for the country, that he is going to be upfront enough to say, listen, this is what the deal is here, and that's the sacrifice that we will have to make going forward in order to accomplish.
Yeah.
He will be there to explain to the people and let them understand why he needs to do what he's going to do, which is something that we have not been having from the administration that we have just voted out of office.
Exactly.
So we are in a good place right now. We have very great opportunities. The potential has always been there, and I'm expecting the Deacon Mitchell-led administration to harness that great potential that we have and to bring benefits to the people of Petit Martinique, Caribou, and Grenada.
Like Maurice said, and I think the NDC has echoed that sentiment. In Grenada, we don't believe in elected people for life. We believe in service for life. When you stop serving, we'll get out of the way and let somebody else serve. And Deacon has repeatedly said this, the video with him, whoever put the video together, that was well done. And the other song today, somebody said to me last week, but I didn't really get it. I didn't really read it until today. Last night after the show, I was reading that person emailed to me, WhatsApp to me, because a new friend, and I did some work for them, and she sent me this stuff afterwards. And I didn't realize, our conversation, business conversation ended, and I didn't thought we had any political links. And she probably look at my shows and look at my doing with NDC, and she sent me those stuff with some statements and stuff like that, which I really recognize my support for the NDC. So she sent me those things. However, having said that, and the momentum that was being built over the years, starting with number of people within the NDC, and like we mentioned, Kem Jones, Ashida Charles, and other persons within the NDC that we have spoken to on the shows several times. Dr. Tilly, Nazim, we spoken with Persuader. We have
Ashida was on Gemfm too.
Yeah,
Ashida on Gemfm.
you brought her on the comfort zone. Yeah, she was in the comfort zone. She was on Gemfm, right? And so a number of them have been here, and everybody. And Kem Jones have done his thing. He have contributed a lot. He have been very voicerous and uncompromising in his and relentless in his attack on Dr. Keith Mitchell. So much so that Kennedy Boodler was and Andre Donald, whoever the guy was, and that's in their show, was making fun of how you eat the chairman of NMP, and he was screaming and thinking how I didn't want to go there, put him out or something like that, right? So they forced him out, but however, it turned out that he left, and he was really going back at them with his support for NDC, and that have stimulated a lot of people who eyes were probably darkened but became open because Kem was exposing a lot of Keith Mitchell's and the NMP wrongdoing. Yeah, along that you had Cassandra Mitchell and the other people, because when the Cassandra is the first person to leak that thing to Gemfm about the constitutional COVID-19 bill, because they were going to pass it, and then when it was released here, they kind of held back, and that was him coming from Cassandra. And a number of stuff that was first time heard was heard here. So everybody had played a part, and a lot of people took notice, and we have to give everybody the props, I mean, for what they have done. So whatever it was, the revolution is continuing by the ballot, not by the bulletin, but by the ballot, and it happened. So again, I'm happy. Like I said, unlike many other talk show hosts, I think Kem Jones, myself, and other persons, a few other persons was not wavering in the support for NDC. He was very vocal about our support for NDC. So that is one-on-one. I can remember you called me one night and you see me playing all these songs and doing all this stuff for NDC. I was not compromising my position. I won't play NDC song. I won't play. No, I'm playing it because it's a change I want to see happen. You know what I mean? And I think we need to do it. You had to take a position. I think it was Black says you gotta stand up for something and die for nothing. You know what I mean? And he asked, with them. So we're asking, will they day? Well, they did. Did they know in office? Did they in office now? So say you can see what they want now. They go sue. Yeah? But you have to go home. Please go home. Take one rest. So I don't think you will make it for the next election. I mean, you make it for the next 75.
Yeah, I don't think.
78.
Brother John, if you would allow me, and especially as you've touched that point, whether he's going to make it for the next one.
Yeah.
If you would allow me, there's just one final thing I want to say, because there's this talk about legacy. And let's just look at legacy. We've had two other prime ministers of note, right?
Yes.
In Gary and
Morris.
Okay. Gary's legacy is that he came and the people working on the plantation were in a situation that needed to be addressed.
Yes.
And he came like the savior. He took on a battle that they were unable to take on for themselves.
Yes.
And he fought not just the plantation owners, but he fought the colonial establishment of the day.
Yes.
And he brought benefits to the people. Whatever happened afterwards.
Yes.
No one, that cannot be erased from our history. And that is his legacy.
Yes.
Yes, he became and started to treat with the people and with his governance approach like a colonialist afterwards.
Right.
And this essentially is what gave rise to the Morris Bishop and the Bonnet Codes and the Unity White Band and so on.
Yes.
And Morris came and Morris established his legacy because Morris got into the life of the working people of the country.
Yes.
Morris was the person who would be there doing pro bono work for many people who otherwise would not have been able to have legal representation in our courts and be able to help them out of situations, many times against the government of the day.
Yes.
And then you had the revolution that accomplished things that Grenada had never accomplished before nor since.
Yeah, yes.
So that is the legacy of the revolution. We come to the legacy of Dr. Mitchell. What can be said to be the legacy of Dr. Mitchell? And I want to leave that one day for people to think about.
The big question.
Yes. What is his legacy of the? I've just spelled out.
Yes.
What is the legacy of Gary and the CULP? What is the legacy of Morris and the PRG? What is the legacy of Dr. Mitchell and his NMP that is significant to the growth and development of the country?
You know something.
That's some food for thought for the next conversation.
You know what he said, right? He said in an interview, he said that he want to leave a legacy, the healthcare system,
put a new healthcare system in place, but that never happened. Yeah, that never happened.
But he's been there for. He's been the longest serving prime minister.
Exactly.
The question will come up, why is it that such a thing was not a focus of his for all of the time that he was in office, that he would have made it happen because he had the opportunity to do so.
Ample time to do that and many other things. Revamping of other key economic beneficial things could have been done, and it was not done. Instead, they was playing hooky with people's passion for hunger, just feeding them, giving them a bit of food, so to speak. Yeah. And well, if you didn't have this survey, I will send this survey to you that was so accurately done by Dr. Pierre here on Gemfm. I will send a copy of that survey so you could go over it in your spare time and study. It's a good survey to study. And I think anybody reading that survey, I think every grader should have a copy of that survey in their hand to really analyze what really happened in this election and what could be improved on and what could be done to maintain that control of power in Grenada. So I think whoever has this study in their hand right now, we should use it among other studies that will be done by Dr. Pierre on behalf here with us here at Gemfm. He will go back to Grenada and do another needs assessment survey in Grenada, and he will bring back here to us to release to the Grenadian people again. So that will be an interesting one after the selection and needs assessment for the Grenadian government and the people of Grenada. What will be done, and then it will take around 6 months probably to complete the survey. Maybe take less than that probably, but he will come back right here with it again to release his survey on the needs assessment for Grenada economic development. So I'm looking forward to that one again. All right. So Pablo, thank you so much. All right. And I'm looking forward to having you back on a Saturday afternoon. That spot is still vacant.
And I'm not giving it to nobody. It's still yours. So whenever you're ready, whenever your time is relaxed, and you can make your time back, just give me a heads up, and I'll make up the necessary stuff. I'll have you back right in your spot there. Not given to nobody. So it's still there. All right. It gives me some time to flex on other things, but it's still there. All right. So whenever you're ready, my friend, it's still there. It's still there. All right.
Thank you.
One love, my brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much to your viewers and so on for this season. Was happy.
Well, again, congratulations on the victory and on your hard work in the background. Again, folks, the June copy of the Gemfm magazine will see the Deacon Factor is written by Raphael Paul, the man in the background. If you're not seeing tonight, he's always keeping a low profile, but he's like something. There's some little cars. They're always on the ground, but you see they fast and furious. You say, where are you getting this power from? To me, you are the Samson in this whole thing. Everybody looking at Samson with the locks, and but the real Paul is saying, well, where this man got all this power? I can't see the power. He was not a muscular person. Those questions, where you get this power from? I guess he was a skinny little Hebrew boy with no power, no big muscle. And they went, well, how come he beating people up like that? And how they couldn't see the power, but the power was in the spirit. An internal thing, it wasn't external. They couldn't see it. But then Delilah get to him and say, what is your strength? Where is your strength lies? He told her the secret was his symbol, was his hair, and they cut the hair off. But the Bible record that he told her the secret, the spirit left him. So keep your secret of your power. just keep on beating, keep on licking, keep on bringing it out there, and let it be. All right. Well, the truth about it, we have the best material. We like it. That's all.
Yeah, we have the best material.
All right. So I'll end on this.
Critically, we have to realize that no single person can do it. So it is an all-round team effort, and all hands are needed on deck.
Yes,
it is a number game, and the more people, as they say, more hands make the work light.
Yes, Yes.
So and that is what is needed. It's the same thing like with the votes. It's a numbers game. If people didn't go out and vote, we couldn't have had the result that we have.
Amen.
And that lesson comes out in a most salient way when you look at the result in St. John. That Kieran James eventually won by 12 votes. The initial count was 7. And she won by 12 votes. So we see how significant it is that people exercise their franchise and don't say, well, we win already, and not go to vote.
Yes,
because it was 7 votes that separated us from victory in 2003, right? In the 2003 elections, it was 7 votes that separated us from victory in Karikou seat, and that made the difference in NDC winning 7 seats and NNP winning 8. So I want to admonish people that they take this thing seriously, and that when election come around, they do exercise the franchise and ensure that we get the right people to represent us in the House of Parliament, and that we ultimately have the right people looking after or managing the business of the people of Kitimatnik, Karikou, and Grenada.
Amen.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you very much, Pablo. Thank you very much, and I'll always be calling upon you to be here as usual. Whenever you can, the forum is always open. You can jump in. You can jump in any of the conversations whenever you feel the need to do so. It's open. You're part of the Gemfm family as well. On this show, you're a member of the board of Gemfm as well. So you could jump in on any of the shows as part of the Gemfm team, leadership team here. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a song to play.
Bye-bye.
And have a good night, Pablo. Keep the celebration going and keep the momentum going. All right? One love, my brother.
All the time. Yeah, man. Thank you.
Peace.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yes,
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. Folks, that was Raphael Paul, but known as Pablo, Gemfm broadcaster on the comfort zone every Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. But at present, he's on break because he was involved in the NDC's election campaign. There was a lot of work being on his shoulder in the background, a lot of stuff preparing for the victory, and the victory has been attained. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. Follow us every time, again, on our webpage at www.gemfm.ca, and get a copy of our magazine, a monthly magazine happening every month. And looking forward to your support. Again, go to the website www.gemfm.ca and make a donation. As little, much as you can. We much appreciate it. Have a good night, everybody. This is Gemfm. I'm your host, Sheriff. Yeah. Yes. Have a good night, everybody. One love.
We have the best Mitchell and we like it.
Oh, yes.
Young, intelligent, and a vibe. The best Mitchell and we like it. This Mitchell ain't go feed you no lie. We have the best Mitchell and we like it. Young, intelligent, and a vibe. The best Mitchell and we like it. This Mitchell ain't go feed you no lie. Oh gosh, speaking intelligent, wow, he's so magnificent. Oh gosh, the people he represent, yes, and he will not relent. Oh gosh, the country he about heart, not an opinion, that is a fact. With Deacon the future real bright. Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. We vote in the heart, the heart, the heart, the heart. Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. All right. Stick it right by the heart. We have the best Mitchell and we like it. Young, intelligent, and a vibe. The best Mitchell and we like it. This Mitchell ain't go feed you no lie. We have the best Mitchell and we like it. Young, intelligent, and a vibe. The best Mitchell and we like it. This Mitchell ain't go feed you no lie. Voting Deacon for Prime Minister, oh, for a prosperous Grenada. Let's travel this path together, oh. With Deacon on our side, the future real bright. Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. We vote in the heart, the heart, the heart, the heart. Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. All right, stick it right by the heart. We have the best Mitchell and we like it. Young, intelligent, and a vibe. The best Mitchell and we like it. This Mitchell ain't go feed you no lie. We have the best Mitchell and we like it. Young, intelligent, and a vibe. The best Mitchell and we like it. This Mitchell ain't go feed you no lie. We have a charismatic young leader. Carving a bright future is the mantra. Our sweet country going through well. The captain to steer the ship is Deacon Mitchell. Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. We vote in the heart, the heart, the heart, the heart. Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. All right, stick it right by the heart. We have the best Mitchell and we like it. Young, intelligent, and a vibe. The best Mitchell and we like it. This Mitchell ain't go feed you no lie. We have the best Mitchell and we like